Yeah.
My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Kemau to Cape Palmas, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, Liberia is facing renewed security scrutiny after the latest major cocaine seizure. Political actors are trading accusations from alleged shooting of officials to claims of politicization. President Walker intervened to end the UL impasse and order rehabilitation. The crisis raises deeper questions about leadership and institutional stability. Also, 3 years later, the Charloe Musu murder case remains unresolved. Citizens are demanding a fresh probe. Councillor Tiawon Gonglo is demanding full disclosure on the financing of the $6 million Foya Presidential Center. And last but not the least, former Vice President Jewel Howard Taylor court appearance and concerns. The former Vice President appeared in court amid reports of hospitalization while in police custody. These are some of the issues that we're going to be discussing tonight. To do this, I have Dr. Jones Otavius Mali Sr. He is the Senior Political Education Analyst of our sister network, LPR. Welcome, Dr. Mali.
Oh, thank you, moderator, and my greeting to Reverend Dr. Pearson.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Reverend Dr. Clarence R. Pearson, the FOL Neo-Progressive commentator and author. Dr. Pearson, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be on the show tonight. I want to say hi to Dr. Mali and our viewers and listeners out there. Thank you for bringing me on tonight.
Thank you. Let me also bring on Joseph Tao. Joseph, at least he rescued me from between two doctors. So at least, Mr. Tao, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Hi to everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Tao.
Let me welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. And we expected more to come, but tonight I want us to, it's almost like a fireside chat. And the cocaine bust, and that's what I wanted to start with, right? There is, and the way I put it is, there's the scrutiny. And the overall theme for tonight is accountability, security, and governance in Liberia. So there's scrutiny, right? There's a big case since the cocaine bust. So we are looking at this thing differently. All right. After the cocaine seizure and arrest and all that, let me also welcome Evis. Evis is coming late, I want to denounce publicly. No late coming.
Okay.
Evis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. John. Pleasure to be on.
All right. So with everything going around, I want us to talk political. Many are saying with the cocaine and everything, the arrest, and we'll come to the former VP exclusively, I mean, like separately. But overall, is the government handling the issue, politicization, all the different things that are being said about this case? Let me start with, is the government handling the case transparently? Are we shooting political allies? Are we going after, some will say political witch hunt, and some say, oh no, there are no witches to hunt. Before I even go through that, let me play this from, and people are even calling for the police chief to step aside. But President Bouaka thought otherwise.
I want to say for those people who don't believe, I can tell you, we have the best of brains here, people who love this country. I want to thank the securities who have been working tirelessly, trying to sort out the truth. I want to thank Greg Coleman and his team. I still believe in them, and I believe in what they're doing. I don't care what you do, who you say. Our country is not to be used as a narcotic state. And we will not end until the truth is known. And the people of this country, we know the true friends of the
will not end until the true friend of this country are known, right? And are brought to book. Mr. Taro, this whole cocaine thing and the trial and the way the government is going about it, is government handling this thing properly and transparently? But before you begin, let me welcome Alice, Mrs. Ali Wilson Momba, who's been busy for some time now. Alice, welcome, and we're glad to see you.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always a pleasure being here. Hello, panelists.
Hi.
Yeah.
Mr. Taro, broadly, what do you make of everything that is going on regarding the way the government is handling it and how it's being perceived and the reaction from people around? What do you make of everything?
For me, it's very difficult for me to draw a conclusion now. And the reason that a lot of people are suspicious, even me, not suspicious per se, but don't seem to have that much faith, is because not just this government, but on other government, including this one, they really never follow anything to conclusion. They start, and then everything in just disarray, and nothing really is drawn to a conclusion to draw a definitive or result. And that is why. But this is what I will say though. In spite of what we are seeing, remember, I'm not a fan of any of these governments. But this one right here, no matter how messy it may look, there's some arrests going on. There's some leads being followed. People say, you say we'll come to the vice president exclusively. They say, oh, it's witch hunting. My point is not even what is witch hunting. It is whether the person was involved or linked to this. It doesn't matter. Even if it is all George Weah or CDC people or ANC people, and they leave the UP people out, yes, you can say it's wrong, but are these people guilty? Were they involved? Were they in a way connected to it? And so, from what, just briefly, from what I will see here, I will say here is that I see arrests being made. I see people within the government in the security sector, whether they were brought there during this administration or before, they've been some being arrested, some being some have recused themselves, which I think they should get arrested. The vice president's son name came up. He explained something that didn't make any sense. I think the police should call him in for questioning, just like they call everybody else in whose name come up. The foreign minister's name was mentioned. It needed to be looked at clearly to see whether she had any connection to it. Because some of the things that she was saying, I'm not saying that.
Before you continue, who mentioned these names? Because so you hear name, when you say the name was mentioned, who did?
It's people in the government, the chief of police himself, that they're saying should recuse himself. He said that the people high up in the government.
Right. But you are saying you are calling specific names that they were mentioned, like the foreign minister. Who is mentioning these names?
Oh, I don't. Some are investigators, and some are just mentioned. And I'm saying they should look into it. I'm not saying they should go arrest them.
Okay.
I'm not saying they should go arrest them. I said they should look into it, because if the chief of police himself is saying, and people within the Senate and in the government, they're kind of throwing jab at each other, that they're higher up, and so if a higher up name is mentioned, then it's worth looking into. That is the point I'm making.
Thank you. Dr. Malley, let me get your view on what's obtaining as far as government handling the issues and what they are and what the responses have been around. What's your take?
Well, first, there is three dynamics surrounding this whole drugs scenario. First, the public opinion has taken toll on this drugs exercise. Two, the government handling its transparency methodology has come to question. So the characteristic itself of the drugs matters. Now, from what I see now is that they try to get to the bottom of this whole drug issue that is starting from the George Weah government, for which a prominent government official has been maligned already. But the question now is, are we going to go much deeper to the Helen Johnson Sirleaf's administration, where drugs were even found in one of the presidential convoy? Are we going to go that far to begin to find out the history of this whole drug, to unpack them? That's the first question. But I think from the general look, I think the government is doing it best. Is it well? Is it transparent? That's another question. Are people really accountable? That's another question. Because as Mr. Tawo just said, so many people have been involved in this thing. They are finger pointing here and there. Should we create the corridor for us to hear these people and their side of the story? I notice government is very tight-lipped when it comes to that area, because it involves, like the clip you just played, the president has reaffirmed his confidence in the police director and even said he's doing an excellent job. So that is even contrary now to those who accuse him, the police boss, of being part and parcel of this thing.
Dr. Malley, do you think the government is being transparent in handling this issue and fair?
Well, that depends on what we mean by transparency.
What?
If transparency would mean hawking, bringing the president's son to face justice and explaining to the Liberian people his connection with a strange call he received, if that would be transparency, then I would go that direction. But if transparency would mean that the security boss, the LMP boss, is being implicated and the president is praising him and he has reaffirmed his confidence in this guy, then that is not transparency. But again, these are public opinion, because the case is being scrutinized in public opinion, in public spaces in Liberia. So do we follow the trend of the public opinion. That is another thing.
Thank you.
So to some extent, I think some level of transparency is.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, what's your take on how the government is handling this issue? As if I don't know your answer already, but go ahead.
Thank you, Dennis. Look, I think my concern would definitely align with what Alexander Cummings would say a couple of weeks ago. I think we want to see that this entire process is free, fair, and transparent. It's accountable in terms of those who are in any way connected to this entire cocaine business should be brought to justice. We should get to the bottom of this thing. This the whole thing about drug, whether domestic drug and transnational drug, is a menace to our society. And it is bad for our country. There's no doubt about that. But on the overall, what I think, I got just three major concerns, and I think my political leader, Mr. Alexander Cummings, had the same concern. One, due process and presumption of innocence. I gave the example if Gregory Coleman mentioned that he had overwhelming evidence against a permanent individual in our society, in person of our former First Lady, our former senator for 18 years, our former vice president for 6 years. If he had overwhelming evidence connected to this national emergency, it means you are keeping surveillance on her. So if you are keeping surveillance on her and you have overwhelming evidence, what precluded him from providing that evidence before a judge to get a warrant? Because the judge will be able to look at the supporting facts to the alleged crime and make a legal determination as to whether there's merit to the allegations, and then issue a warrant for the person's arrest and appearance in court. I'm not in any way trying to dispute the fact that they have the right to do arrest on probable cause. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if the claim of having overwhelming evidence should have had given them the opportunity to do other things differently. And so I think she wasn't treated like someone who is innocent until proven guilty according to our laws. We saw Paul King, the owner of the GLS, who has a shipping company and shipped cocaine directly from his house to the airport. It took them almost 3 weeks before they would even apprehend him and present him to court. And every time we push, you and myself, we push on this platform, other platform push. Gregory's response to every press conference was, they can't just hear allegations, just jump to go arrest people. The man's cooperating, so they giving the following the due process, and into the appropriate time they will present him. So what was more urgent? Someone who is caught in the act, or someone who is alleged to have been involved in the act, who would have been given a harsher, a more aggressive treatment? So, and another thing is the credibility and impartiality of the cocaine investigation. We think these are signs that when the president's son is being named, nobody calling for any questioning, or if it is done politely and saving the reputation of the first family. But then you cannot save the reputation of the former vice president. Now her name is all over the international press and the local press. Those are damages that you can cause people and you cannot repair them easily. And I think we need to be very cautious as we proceed further.
Right. So broadly, not just the VP, not just the former VP, is the government handling this fairly?
No. And there are reasons for that. There's so many, like besides the ones that I cited. Remember, there was a press conference when they announced that Manatela will be held overnight after they kept her for over 8 hours at the police station, even though they said they were asking her to come answer some questions when they indeed wanted to have apprehended her and make a scene of it. And he was our RG was asked. He said, "What happens to the other individuals in the police, like your principal deputy for criminal investigation, your principal deputy for financial crimes, your principal deputy for your principal deputy for highway patrol? These are all people who are linked to this whole crime here. Why aren't they harshly treated like this and put charged to court?" He said, "Well, they are going through internal investigation because they got process within the police force to do internal." So so those are things that makes the entire process look very biased. Even the former OIC, All right, Biago. Where is Biago? You know, so these are things that it leaves us feeling that something is wanting, Dennis.
Thank you. Alice, I want to get your take on how things are proceeding so far.
Well, so far, I think the president is doing a great job at this time.
Alice, if you can lower your volume a little bit. You have a very powerful microphone, so it's picking.
Oh, yeah. Hold on 1 second. I hope I'm not going to turn it off while trying to lower. Is it better?
Yeah.
You sure? Hold on 1 second. Okay. I think so far the president is doing a great job, considering the kind of damage that drugs have caused in a Liberian society. All of our young children, you know, young adults that's supposed to be replacing the future generation. Most of them are living in a graveyard because of drugs. And now the problem in Liberia, because of the drug money, those who are trading the drugs become the rich people in Liberia. Everything is expensive because of them, because they can afford. If something is $100, something that's supposed to be worth $5 when it's $100, they pay for it. And ordinary people cannot find money to pay for these things. You go to the supermarket, those supermarkets are very expensive, more than the United States. So if the president is arresting these people, I think he's doing a great job. On the other hand, we have to be cautious. We should not arrest people because they are soft targets. There were two brothers that were involved from the beginning on the drugs issue, the first set of drugs, the 19 millions. It took them for some time. It took them time to arrest these people. But see how they ran so fast to arrest Finabono. How they ran so fast to arrest Joy Howard Taylor. Is it because they are women? So if everybody commit a crime, treat them fairly, treat everybody equally. So those of the people that are on the same level should be getting the same treatment, and not because some other people are women. And that's what I think I'm sensing in most of the arrest and public display of criminals, quote unquote. This is what I'm saying. What I'm sensing in the whole thing. But time ago, I saw a video where the president's son was named, because there's no way somebody who does not know you from another country to call your name and give you instances. So if this person were a female, that person would have been called in for interrogation. There were other men that committed crime. They never even went to the police on rape issues. So why is it some people are being treated differently from others? I think we need to look into that. If we say we are fighting drugs, whether it is the president's child, whether it's the VP's child, or whoever, they should be getting the same treatment. And, you know, that's the only way we're going to make sure that the society is free. Because right now, Liberia got a bad reputation because of the drugs. And that was never the case in the past. And, you know, I don't want to go back. I don't want people to go back and say, maybe we should go back and investigate when Chancellor was in power to see who all brought drugs, when Ellen was in power to see who all brought drugs. If those people are still doing it today, they need to be questioned. They need to be brought to justice, fair play, and then we know who is causing the problem. But if maybe they did it before and now they stopped years ago and we don't have them actively involved, I don't think we should be going back, because then we have to keep going back to the history of when drugs started coming to Liberia. We don't have the capacity as a country to do. We don't even have fingerprinting to collect criminals. So everything we do will be like, this person said, that person said. So the investigation is fused with misinformation from social media. So a lot of people names have been called, people insinuate because they think it's the fact, but actually sometimes we don't have evidence to bring people to justice that we think are involved, because social media is leading the investigation in some way, and we can't trust everything that we see on the internet. So I think we can follow the discussion to see how it is going to end, and not just like some Coca-Cola you open and then it spills over and then goes quiet. Let's see, start the investigation. Let's see the end. Who's going to go to jail? Who is not going to go to jail? Whether they are free, on what basis? Everything needs to be on the table. And I try to, be
Thank you.
translucent in our investigations.
Thank you. Evis. And Mr. Tawa, I see your hand. Let me get Evis in, and then we can go to you for your 1 minute.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John. Look, for me personally, I'm heartbroken. I feel as if Liberia is in a perilous position right now. And I'm not surprised, and we all shouldn't be surprised because there's been this murmuring that big hands are in this drug business. So perhaps this is one of the big hands that's associated with it. I know we'll get to her, but it's ironic.
Let's talk about her now. No problem.
Okay, it's ironic. It's ironic that a woman whose son had a substance abuse issue, who has struggled with addiction and eventually passed, and has said publicly that as a mother is one of the most difficult thing to deal with, her son being addicted to drugs, is herself now being accused of trafficking in that drug. It's like, facilitating something that caused your son's death. It's one of the worst things a parent can go through. Well, secondly, I think when it comes to the opposition figures, this government tend to go full speed ahead, right? You saw what happened with Funati. They wanted him to spend some time in jail, so they delayed, his processing until it was too late for the weekend. He spent the weekend in jail because they wanted him to be in jail. They extradited Samuel Toy, got him out of the Ivory Coast. Not only they extradited, but sent an arrest warrant for him. They brought him to Liberia. I think that process they did well. They went through the legal process. He was acquitted, but again, that wasn't enough. They said it was temporary. Now they're going after him again. You know, you had a case with Pinda Bondo. Many people think she's being induced. People are doing things to get, some confession out of her, whether it's legitimate or she's just implicating people who are innocent. That would have to be proven in court, you know. So for me, I think the whole process is it seems, especially those of us looking in from outside, it seems to be unfair because the way other opposition leaders was treated, it's not the same way the people who are in government is being treated. Like Mr. Dr. Pearson said, when you talk about people who drug were found on them physically or found within their property or within their their businesses, they've been given leeway. They're out on bond, or they're not in custody. They're not reprimanted in jail. you know. So for me, I just feel like this government has to be transparent. They have to be consistent in the way they do investigation and the way they treat the citizens. Because every citizen in that country is equal, whether they're in opposition, whether they're in position, they have to be treated equally. So for me, looking at the way people are treating the former vice president, I don't take offense to it. Because if the evidence was so severe and so egregious enough to arrest her on a non-exit Republica, meaning that she can't, leave the country, perhaps they thought she was trying to abscond, and they had to arrest her before she left to go to Ghana, then you have to present it. You have to present that evidence because if the NSA that we have in Liberia, who should be really investigating these things on a daily basis, they didn't tie our vice president to any drug importation because I'm sure if she was a drug dealer, this is not her first drug importation in the country. So how come they never arrested her from previous, involvement in drugs? And to the former vice president, this is her own doing, and she has a history of this. She's been associated with some dubious characters. The guy, no Sheikh something, or Bosuma, or whoever, who was associated with drug dealing in the United States, you know, and some other characters that's been around her, who are, people who are involved in illicit, activities. So a woman of her stature should not be associating with people. My mom and my father always had to tell me, Show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. The people you associate yourself with, it shows you who you are. And she's had a history of doing that. So for me, I have no sympathy for her. I think the only thing I'll ask this government is to give her a fair trial. Make sure she's properly represented. The evidence should be clear and clean. And those who are, cooperating information against her should be properly cross-examined. And if she's guilty, she should go to jail. It will be a poster, a poster case for Liberians. And no one is quote unquote above the law. But lastly, the president's son, like we said before, I know people are being playing cement. What is a cartel and this and that? Cartel don't call your name if they don't know you. They don't call the president, the sitting president of a republic, of Liberia name if they had no dealing with him. And they gave specific allegation that this guy has, a guarantee the safe passage of their drug in the country. That they had an agreement, they had an understanding he is one of their associates. So you're telling me Jua Howard Taylor is working with the same cartel that brought the drug in, but they didn't call her name on that video. They didn't say that she was the reason the drug didn't pass, but they called the president's son. What, the Colombians, they understand Liberian politics so deep that they can't speak English, but it was to make a video to implicate the president's son wrongfully and not the vice president that they've been working with this whole time. So for me, it's perplexing to the mind, but I will pass the mic over, to Mr. Tao. Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Tao.
Tao, go ahead.
Yeah. So look at what happened, Dennis. What I wanted to add, Elvis said a lot of the stuff that I already wanted to say, and that the person said, some of them. Because for me, there are two parts to this. I commend the government in some ways that at least some arrests being made. Because the part here, what we should understand here is this. We keep saying the new government coming, they're not taking no step. They don't want to do anything. Look, you have to start somewhere. And when you start, it's going to be messy. My thing is the people, whether they come from the opposition, whether they're women, whether they're children, that is not the point here. The point here is, were they involved? Can they prove this? That is all that it is. Whether they went back and they got Samuel 12 from Ivory Coast and your opposition to brought him, did he steal money? Whether the president's son is stealing right now and they're not touching him, but they're going after George Weah, they're going after Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and they can prove it that they stole money and they can be prosecuted, that's fine. Guess what? The next group that come in, go after them too. Guess what? Once we start that way, you will see things start leveling up, because the next guy know that when he leave, if he did wrong things, the next government is going to go after him. So it's going to force people to scale back some. Because I don't want to be caught up into this stuff that we say we want something to start from somewhere. But each time it starts, we politicize everything. Yeah, they're touching this person. Why can't they don't touch us? Then where do you start? Okay. And to my sister Alice, I want us to be I'm a little bit concerned. We should not drag gender into this. Because gender, to me personally, I'm looking at Liberia, gender have nothing to do with it. All that you see happening here, Dennis, is party politics. Okay? That lady that killed somebody on camera that was in the government, what happened? They didn't touch her. She's a woman. They didn't touch her. What happened? Boaka gave her a job. She's a woman. Why didn't they touch her? Because she is part of their party. So if the vice president were part of that party, you will hear the same thing that they're investigating, that they're trying to look into it. That is mere allegation. The foreign minister's name came up. She's a woman. Why didn't they touch her? Because she is in this administration. So what we are dealing with is party politics, and it's going to be like this until we can find a way to get over this party politics and actually try to work together on national issues and make it non-political. So that is what I see. Fina Bono, if she's guilty, if she was in this government, they won't touch her that easily unless people can bring enough evidence. And then it's so much so, and they push the government, that's the only way. But they went after her immediately because apparently she was doing things too openly, and she's from the opposition. So I don't think gender have anything to do with it. But I would say this is the first government that I see that is at least arresting people Now we cannot debate the degrees, all of this stuff. Yes, but they're at least arresting people. Some people will say, oh, it's because people put pressure. Yeah, that is how government works. People put pressure, different sectors put pressure, and they act. On an alien and on an opponent, no matter how much pressure they put on stuff, they didn't do a single thing. So let us start here, and we hope that this, if other people, and then they can move the wheel.
Thank you, Mr. Tao. That's our experience. But let me bring this all right, and let me welcome the political bulldog who is joining us from the nation's capital.
Dennis, it's good to be here.
Mr. Foya, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here. I'm glad that we are having a discussion on these topics at the right time. I'm happy to be part of it.
Thank you. This is one security officer flagged this to me, and I want how you guys look at it, right? Like according to the government, a cartel was established 2018 or so, and they left the country 2022. So now they are back 2025. Two things that the security expert told me. He said the question he will be asking is, why did they leave? First of all, what was happening in 2018 that made Liberia a place for cartel to operate? What happened in 2022 that they had to leave? And what is attracting them back to Liberia 2025? And if they are coming back because the current government is saying, it appears that the Foya administration, they were doing business. That's why they are still going through someone from the Foya administration. But if the cartel is coming back, will a former vice president who is no longer in power be the one to be the facilitator? Alex, how you look at that? Why did the cartel leave? Why are they back now? And why is Joel Howard Taylor chosen to be the one through whom they're going to be operating? Did you think about that too?
Well, right now, I don't think they want to start operating through her now, according to the narration. Okay. But what I think they're trying to do is they are looking forward to next elections, hoping that maybe considering how other things are going in Liberia, maybe they are in contact with people and they think they have a chance that she might come back or her party might come back. So they're trying to re-establish that connection that would make them to have the same free pass that they had in the past. So it doesn't mean right now that she has any authority to do business with them. So remember, according to the explanation, that they had gift for her. So if somebody who left before is coming with gift, they're trying to re-establish connection. And I'm not saying that's the case, but my own analysis, processing what the contact and the phone call that was made allegedly, I think that's what they're trying to do, but it does not mean that she has any authority right now to be a facilitator. Maybe she was in the past. Nobody knows. We all are wondering whether she's connected or not. But if it is true that she gave diplomatic passports to these people, and now they are coming back to have reconnection and think that they can use gift to entice her, so that tomorrow, who knows, President Foya might come back again, then this time they will come back, and do the usual business that they were doing. So, to my understanding, they are not saying, or they are not trying to use her now, but they want to prepare for tomorrow. In case.
Alex, the cocaine is coming and leaving, and the government is charging her with importation, distribution, trafficking, dispensation, and all the different things. So it means they are actively doing this because the cocaine was in the country. it was going back. That's why it was caught at RIA. So whoever is here now that is helping them should be actively participating, has say in the charges against her.
Okay, so the
So
two
if
things
they,
can,
if they will use power, go ahead.
so two things can happen here. Okay, they are either trying to do reconnection or the position that they left her in before, because you were working in the office, you already got contacts with people. You know, if it is true that she's part of this, she was not doing it alone. And when we are left office, it's not everybody that worked with we that was taking out of their jobs. People are still in places, you know, like the airport. Maybe somebody knows somebody that was there before. They know how it works. So through that, they can still do something. She can still facilitate without necessarily being in government, because she has established herself as an icon in a society.
Thank you. Mr. C.A., give us some fresh perspective on what is obtaining, because I know you touched Morovia. Are you in Morovia now?
Yeah, I'm in Morovia. I'm in Duco. Safe and sound.
How is this? How is this whole drug business, Howard Taylor, cocaine, NAB, and the way government handle it? What are you hearing on the ground there as you arrive?
Yeah, then it's a big story. And it has become debatable. And of course, you see the
And by the
politics
way,
in
I
it
want to
also.
be sophisticated, so I have a whole chronology of the Liberia 2026 narcotics investigation. Go ahead, Mr. C.
Thank you, Dennis. And so it is a whole debate. But one thing is clear here, and that is the investigation are ongoing. There are two investigations here. The first seizure at Rabat International Airport, valued at 19.2 million. And then the second seizure that is valued at 317. Some people put it at 319 million. So those are the two huge seizure of cocaine, and these are the two separate investigations that are going on. The Joel Howard Taylor arrest has added or raised this investigation to the peak because of who she is: former vice president, former senator, former first lady. To know that a woman of her standing in leadership and politics, political governance in our country, to be accused of having a significant involvement raises the whole drugs issue to the whole new level, and even confirm it what we have all been suspecting, that higher up, big fishes, if you like, are involved. And then in a Joel Howard Taylor case, it is important for all to understand that she was on her way out of the country. She was traveling, and she said she was going to a women conference, and she was stopped. Now, some law enforcement professionals that we talk to here, focus on Liberia, have issue with the way the arrest was done. Some of them, provide that she needed to be informed. We heard that she informed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that she was traveling outside of the country. And I think it is something procedural that anybody of any diplomatic standing leaving the country and giving her, standing in the country, former vice president, she needed to inform the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And she did that. They are saying, look, if for any reason, the fact that the state had knowledge that she was on an active investigation, giving her alleged involvement, they should have communicated to her that, well, do not leave the country. All right. And the fact that that was not done, according to our law enforcement professional that we talked to, said, well, that was count one of not showing some level of respect to her, because they needed to inform her that, look, you are on an active investigation for alleged role in this. So as a result of that, we do not want you to leave. Because mind you now, according to the professional, you are still innocent until proven guilty. And if she is not under any active investigation, why are you stopping her? She enjoys her right to freedom of movement. And the only way you can curtail that freedom of movement, they have reasonable, all right, or facts like investigation, and then you can inform her to not travel. But according to the profession, the fact that that was not done, the law enforcement community or the security agency, they were wrong to have gone with the way they arrested her. And then when she was informed, in no time she was moved into a police vehicle and taken to the police headquarters. Now, this is a law enforcement professional talking. For me, as a man with no knowledge of law enforcement, as an ordinary Liberian, my opinion then is that, look, the fact that we are fighting a serious crime in our country, whoever is involved must be called and be asked questions. And if the person involvement is proven to be significant, to be raised to the level of a suspect, that person must be arrested. That person must be detained. And all of the legal processes should be taken. And so not having knowledge of the legality, the law enforcement professional aspect of it, the fact that we are fighting drugs and the state believed that she has significant involvement, I agree with her being stopped. I agree with her being investigated. All right. And she remained innocent until it is proven that she's actually, and the ground I stand on is that because the drugs that we are talking about, cocaine, is non bailable. Any involvement whatsoever, that person is non bailable. So the person can be stopped, that person can be questioned at any time. And I think that's why the state did. Joy Howard Taylor, if she believes that she's innocent, she should provide the answers the state has. And if there are reasons to believe that she is not involved, I think she will be set free. That's it. I conclude with this. The state should not carry on the investigation in a way that will appear they are selective. In the case of the Kings, we have Peter King and Paul King. My understanding is that Peter King is the one who is the CEO of that particular handling shipment business that was trying to ship. Record has established that they've actually were in the process and possession of the $19.2 million cocaine and trying to ship it out of the country. The owner of that business is now under any investigation. He has not been arrested. There's no knowledge that he was being called for questioning. It's the operational manager, Paul King, who the security agency struggled with for weeks. He practically took himself in, and reluctantly they arrested him. But in the case of Joel Howard Taylor, the state was very swift. Now, another reluctance we see is that Evans was talking about earlier. The son of the president has been accused of having significant relationship with members of the cartel, some of whom have been indicted. He put on statement to clarify, but the state is yet to call him into asking questions. I think it is in Jojo Bwaka's best interest, all right, to avail himself to state security, and it is the right thing for state security to even call him in to ask him questions, and then let him provide the answers. If they find no reason to detain him or arrest him, then that is it. But for them to just leave it like that. Another aspect is the vice president. He's being accused. No one is above the law, as we said. The former vice president is not above the law. The current vice president is not above the law. Why have they not been caught? My point here is that if others are not called in for questioning, for them being a suspect, or the state having information, or people accusing them of having some involvement, if the state is not calling individuals, and the individuals are somehow part or parcel of the government or related to the government, but they are doing well in getting to other people who are not part of the government, many people will see that the state or the police or the investigators are trying to be selective. And I think they should do well on that to not give all reason to believe so. I rest my case.
Thank you. I often say, fairness trumps everything. Even if the two of us are bad and you target one bad person and leave the other alone, that's a problem. I want us to because I'm hearing two opinions here. So let's have probably a consensus here as to. But before I do that, let me welcome the veteran progressive J. Victor Nawe. Mr. Nawe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Jai. It's good to be with you all. Happy Friday. Alex, it's been a minute. I think the last time I saw you was at a cousin William's funeral in New York. But good to see you.
Right. And not because J. Victor is being active politically. The guy in chemistry. He's also a teacher. Mr. Nawe, let's talk about your profession a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. Talk to me.
Well, where do I start? I did chemistry on Cottington. I had very good teachers there. I came over here and I had to also go to school and get a teacher certificate. And so, yeah, I'm a high school chemistry teacher. That's what I do. I've done that for over 20 years. I've dabbled a little bit in administration, but I'm back in the classroom. That's it.
And chemistry makes life work. Here we used to have a program called chemistry and society. How do you look at the chemistry of the government, the chemistry of the country?
So quickly, chemistry is just the real life. You get along with certain people and you don't get along with certain people. So if atoms on the periodic table can form a friendship, they form a bond. And chemical reaction is really putting two things together, two or more things together, and producing something entirely new. It's like you get married to your wife, two different people. Where your wife is from Nimba, like my wife is. I'm from Maryland. We two come together and we make our children, and they're American children, something like that. So that is chemistry. Just like in real life, some people don't get along. On the periodic table is just really, really simple. So it is, once you grasp that concept, the periodic table is probably the best example of what happens when people get along and people don't get along. So,
exactly, and you can separate things like hydrolysis, like the
absolutely.
same way we have musability and Cummins, they form a anyway, let's leave it at that.
I put my foot in on myself, right?
But I want to show. I want to discuss a little bit before we go into what I was getting at is it okay to say, well, like what I'm hearing from Tower is if we have alleged criminals, it's better we catch some and not to say, okay, what about the other one? So Mr. Tower is happy if even the government can go back as far back as the Doe administration and get all the drug dealers and leave the the people in the Bouaka administration alone. He's okay with that. But what I'm hearing from a couple of you is, hey, it's not fair. I want us to resolve those two. Dr. Mali, is it okay that we go after drug dealers that are not part of the Unity Party, that are not part of the government, as long as we can get them? Not that that's what we want, but at least we're trying. Or if we can go back to people that committed these crimes before, or people that are actively doing it, then we should leave the other people alone. Those are the two schools of thought. So let's use 1 minute each and discuss where you stand on that.
I think it's okay with me. First of all, we need to revisit the cradle of this whole drugs thing, because
Dr.
if that is
make it too hard, make it simple.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We got to visit the cradle. We got to visit the root of this whole narcotic scenario. If you don't do that, it will be difficult to solve the problem.
So we can leave if let's say Minister Sarah Beslo Yanti is accused, and someone from the WIA administration is also accused. We can leave the current administration, people in the current administration, and go after people in the WIA administration. And if it is true that they actually did it or they are doing it, that shouldn't matter. Fairness shouldn't come into place here. Is that your thinking?
No, that's not my stand. I think the net should cover everyone, both past and present.
Thank you.
But here's my take.
I just showed something. I want to go to the next on that same issue.
Yes,
so
the net should cover everyone.
Dr. Pearson, what do you think?
You know, this is my thinking, right? No one should be injured by the law. The law is there to protect us, not to injure us. So I feel when you want to effect the law, you have to effect it fairly. And I give an example, then I stop. The Joel case. Oswald, the Justice Minister, Oswald, Councillor Oswald 12 said that they have overwhelming evidence. He listed the merit of charges, but gave us no clue how he derived those charges. What prompted him to come to those conclusions? He said nothing. On what the major investigation I've seen in major cases across the world, when law enforcement come and tell you, say these are the charges, they will give you instances that will give justification for the charges, and then they leave you now. They will say, I can't go into that because it's going to court, but at least they will leave you with some understanding as to what gives them the understanding for these charges to hold.
Yeah.
And when they go to court, now they can adjust it as the prosecutor go along. But at least give us, it's going to 48 hours now, but tomorrow it's going to maybe 72 hours. Also, to have not had any major press conference to tell us those 8 charges against Madam Howard and Madam Taylor, and were derived on these basis of facts.
Thank you.
Zero. And that's not fair. It is happening.
Mr. Tao.
Yeah. So first, I want all the listening audience and the panelists here to know, I never said I was happy. So let's because you said that.
Okay,
I said that with what we have to work with. Everybody, I was the first person when it started here that mentioned the vice president's son, the president's son's name. That his name was called, and he should be brought for them to question him. That the foreign minister's name was called, she should be also questioned. The point I'm making here is that if they choose that they're not going to do that, they're going to go back to Samuel Doe, to Taylor, to Ellen, and to Weah's administration. And if there are people there that are tied to any kind of crime, and they can prove it in the court of law, let's start from there. It is the responsibility of the next administration to say, you know what, we're going to investigate these guys too if we come to power. And what that will do is it will force people to behave, because you know that if you misbehave in your government, in your administration, the next guy coming there's strong possibility for them to investigate you. So it's going to force them to kind of dial back. And that's the point that I made.
Evans disagree. Evan, what's your qualm with that?
You know, these are some of the reasons why politicians in Africa don't like to leave power. And this is the trap, that they become so corrupt and they rule with such impunity that they know for a fact that once they leave power, they're going to be prosecuted. And as such, they tend to hold on to power because it becomes an issue of life and death. I either hold on to this power by hook or by crook, or when I leave, my kids, my loved ones, my friends, my associates, they're all going to be in prison. So when Mr. Towers say that these guys are not going to prosecute themselves, they're going to leave it to the next government, what's actually going to happen is they're going to try to make sure that the next government never comes and see the light of day to prosecute them. So you fall into a trap where, okay, I'll prosecute everybody that was my enemy, my perceived political enemy. I'll decimate them to a point where they can't compete with me, and then I'll rule. De facto, I'll be the only political party in the state, and nobody can touch us because everybody is with us now by defact. So for me, I feel as if to even advocate that this government shouldn't focus on themselves. I'll go back to this point. I said this before. If Joa Howard Taylor is the cartel's point woman in Liberia, it will be stupid. It will be unheard of. The way cartels operate, they won't call Jojo's boycott name. And the thing that Jojo Boycott said, he didn't deny knowledge of these people. He said they came there as investors. He worked with them and blah, blah, blah. So he knows them. But what those people said in Spanish, in Colombian Spanish, is that he had guaranteed their facilitation of their drug, and they want their drug back, and they call his name specifically. They know Joa Howard Taylor, I'm sure. They know Jeremiah Kuhn. They know the president or the foreign minister. They didn't call their names. So how can Joa Howard Taylor now be implicated, which is possible with the evidence that they have, I'm sure. But Jojo Boyka is not a prime suspect when his name was being called. Even me and you here, Mr. Ja, Colombian people in Colombia, Argentina, or in Mexico, they don't know my name. They don't know your name. They will never call my name or your name in any drug, or dealing situation. So how come we as Liberians were not saying, well, that's a glaring evidence. Cartels don't normally do this. They rather, resort to violence and try to get things the hard way than to go on camera and call the name, because it's not a Liberian man that's speaking Colombian Spanish, pretending to be a Colombian to implicate the president's son. It's not. It's actually a Colombian sitting in Colombia somewhere, calling the president's son's name and telling him that, and warning him and pretty much threatening his life that if you don't release that drug, you're gonna have consequences. Called him their associate. So what are we talking about here? This president, before he even got to this drug issue, he's been selected. The people that he fired from the from tenure positions, the way he did, he treated the former CDC officials, the way they went after Fonati Kofa unfairly, many people feel, the way they went after Samuel Twist, sloppily and ill prepared, and they lost the case, and now they're trying to do a second, go at the apple. It's just ridiculous. They're not being fair when it comes to justice and the way they met it out. But like you thought, Mr. Tower, I will give them credit for arresting drug dealers and for catching drug in the country. They have my highest support. But when it comes to fairness of justice, when you look at the Ministry of Justice, you have the lady there with the, I think that's the goddess Colombia, with the skill in her hand and the thing, the blindfold in her eye. That blindfold symbolizes that justice is blind. It doesn't see, friend or foe. It metes out justice to everybody equally. So we should follow that.
Let me bring everybody up to speed, which I call Liberia's 2026 Narcotics Investigation, a chronology of the seizure, prosecutions, and institutional fallout from June to August 2026. And tell me if I did a good job here. So what we have so far, 237.6 kilograms of cocaine, that's the US 19 million seized, or the Duazo one, which is the 317 million. And then up to date, we burned 4.2 tons of cocaine. June 7 to 8, the cargo intercepted at RIA. June 13, the LDA announces the national security elevated the case to a joint national security investigation. June 19, 10 persons named persons of interest. The first arrest, that was King, he surrendered, Paul King. And then we have the narco board member suspended. President Boyka did that. July 30 to 1st to June 30 to July 1st, state summons joint security. Police IG tells the senators that the persons of interest were elevated to suspects and arrests are expected. The charges were filed. The investigation widens. So Philip Yo, formerly charged with criminal facilitation. More persons of interest were detained. Justice Minister Tua says the investigation point to a network. That's how we now say the cartel. And then we have our senior officers were detained on July 24th. That continues. Then the Duazon raid. We have our foreign nationals being detained in the 317.6 million drug case. 12 defendants were named, including Jonathan David Garcia, Mohammed Alpha Ba, Christian Yanti, and so on. Then President Boyka now came on the scene and started dismissing and suspending people, including police officer dismissed Anthony Bly, Mohammed also dismissed. Then destroying the evidence. 4.2 metric tons destroyed. Then we have the institutional fallout. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, led by Minister Cyril Beslo Yanti, they denied, say, we don't part of it. President Boyka publicly stated that the government will deal with the traffickers. And then Jala faces charges. That's the Moses Jala from FDEA. Then we came to former VP Jewel Howard Taylor, who was also charged with all these crimes. Let us know that charges are not conviction. The end. Mr. C, I was talking about, go ahead. I was also talking about the fairness and everything else. So, and then you see
that's
my
what I want to speak. Yeah, thanks for the chronology there, that when it started and all that happened along the way, the instances, the charges, the actions taken by the government, those charged, those arrested, those being questioned, the quantity, the money, the destruction of the drugs and all that. Excellent report there giving a synopsis of all that happened as it happened or during the period. Thank you so much. The fairness question is what we should be talking here as citizens of this country. The situation that we're talking about here is serious. It threatens our national security. It threatens the future of the country. Majority of our fellow citizens who are being destroyed by this drug we're talking about should be the ones taking over the responsibility of this country. Many of them are in graveyards today. They are in rehab camps that are not even equipped enough to rehabilitate them. We have a government that is not in a position to fund rehabilitation centers, so much so that we can rescue the youths and prepare them for national leadership tomorrow. You and myself will be gone. See the challenges we face now with our level of education, and as a result of disagreement and political disagreement, so on and so forth, see where we are. How much more if we don't have prepared young people who will take over the state? We see the chaos, we see the hopelessness, we see the fact that things are not done properly in our country. I mean, with our level of education and experience and the leaders that we have, and we look at our schools, and thank God teachers are here who have deep understanding of what I'm talking about. Look at the output that coming from our schools. That tells you the future of our country. And in the midst of this trouble, where the university cannot live up to its responsibility because our leaders and our states have left the university completely unbounded and underfunded, we have this crisis destroying our youth. We are in trouble. So let me address the question. Fairness requires that all accused be asked question, and not some accused being asked question. Sarah Beslow, the anti-foreign minister, were accused. It is in her best interest, even if she was not called or has not been called by the police, to say, look, I'm coming there. I have no hand in this. Whatever questions you have for me, ask those questions and let me provide the answers and let the facts speak. But why will the police or the investigators not want to call her? Because she is part of the government. The same thing can be said by the vice president. The same thing can be said by the president's son. Why have these people not been called? Because of their connection with this government. Now, Brother Tao is saying, look, at least this government have made some arrests. I too join him to say we commend the government. Any arrest that is made is significant in the fight. But that is not enough. In as much as that is significant, it's not enough. And if there is no fairness, we undermine the process. We undermine the process. Joel Howard Taylor, the one that has one of the greatest opportunity in our country, if the police, the state has significant information about her involvement, I salute them for saying, look, irrespective of your status, we are bringing you in. I commend them. Where I don't commend them is that the president said no scare cow. The police chief and the justice minister said there are senior government officials. These are the investigators speaking. Hello? The investigators. These two individuals are leading the investigation, in my understanding. They told the state that senior government officials are involved. And yet, they are choosing not to invite some of these senior government officials. They have accused, and some are accused for questioning. Where's the fairness? And I don't see that fairness, and that undermines the investigation. I rest my case.
Thank you. Alice, on the question of fairness, and if it is not fair, does it undermine the investigation, and does it make the Liberian people not to believe what the government is doing? Your take.
So first of all, like I said before, I commend the government for having the audacity to investigate all the drug issues that are going on in Liberia. I commend them that they have the audacity to go after government officials, bring them to book on what their roles are in the destruction of the country that they claim to have been leading over the years. Where I'm a little bit concerned is where I don't see fairness. And I'm not talking about those that were accused by insinuations on social media. That's not what I'm talking about. Because if Gregory Coleman says government officials are involved and he did not call anybody's name, we can't assume that it was the VP or it was somebody else close to the government. So we cannot be sure. But where there is an iota of truth based on the evidence that we are all listening to. For example, the president's son. This is something that we all listen to. This is something we are all seeing. And I know one of my colleagues said, well, why did they not call VP Joel Howard Taylor name in a video? The cartel called Joe Boakai name because it seemed like a breach of promise. He promised them, alleging that he was going to make sure that their drugs were protected. And that promise was broken when his drugs were seized and burned. That's why they called him out and threatened him. On the other hand, Madam Taylor, who received a phone call, there was no commotion right there. They told her, they reminded her about the relationship and that they were coming back. They had gift for her. And so that interaction is quite different from what's going on between Joe Boakai and the cartel. So we have to understand why other poor names were not called by the cartel and other poor names were called. Those who offended them immediately, they came after the people and threatened them. Those say, oh yes, you know what, when I get an opportunity, I'm going to help you. Or, you know, maybe the person was helpful, but then they did not do anything immediately to hurt their feelings like Joe Boakai did. And everything, you know, we are alleging everything based on the videos. So my point is, the government, I don't want people to say, you know what, go after the other people, the opposition, whatever, who they are, go after them. And then later on, when the next government comes, that would be witch hunting. If you have the opportunity to catch all the people who are connected to the drugs, do it right now. Then we want to say you are fair. But you cannot, you know, discriminate. You're dealing with certain people, and then you're leaving other people out when it is glaring that everybody participated or everybody is participating in the same process. That is unfair, and I believe in justice. So if it is not fair, then it's better you don't do it. But how can you, you know, show light on other people and try to protect other people? Even the dragging or feeding, arresting major people that were on video, who vehicles were used, who had the companies, we know how long it took. And then, you know, I was not looking at it from the opposition point of view, but I'm seeing two women that were, you know, that were apprehended immediately. So if you can do that, do it with the rest of the people. I don't care what side they fall on. As long as you have evidence, do it. And if there's no social media talk, people guessing, that I don't really, you know, pay attention to that. But if, you know, like the cartel really call the people for investigation, what they know, let them say it to the Liberian people. Otherwise, then you are not doing a good job. But so far, so good.
How is it good if they are not fair?
Well, that is starting a process because I'm still hoping. I have confidence that those who they are not calling now will be called in a specific time frame. I am still hoping that this is something that will happen under this administration. We're not leaving it to the next government. What if the same government wins, you know, tomorrow? So during the process, everybody that is connected now, that's how we know you are fair. So I commend the government that has started a process, but everybody that is connected with evidence, bring them forward. Don't shield other people and then highlight other people.
Thank you, Alex. But let me just remind you that no government has not investigated. From the time of Samuel Doe, we have always seen investigations. Sometimes they put people in jail. Doe had them on pole and whip them. So it is not about the arrest. It's, do these things come to logical conclusion? That's where we struggle. And
right.
I'll give you 10 seconds. We've seen under this administration, the fanatic case. They say people that burn the Capitol building. Where is it? You know, the asset recovery. You know, Finda Bono. And then we came to all these people, the 13 that stole the rice, they allegedly, right? Quite recently, they say, oh, Mary brought sorrow, you're not there. So it's like we can have these investigations. We can sometimes have people arrested. We can sometimes have people put in jail. But do we have a place where people will, you know, will pay for their crimes and restitute the money? The drug law says even when you catch drug in your car, you seize the car. You know, why are these things not happening? The house where the drugs were taken, we're supposed to sell that house and use the money. All these things are there. So things should go through the process and we come to a logical conclusion. Other than that, almost every government has been investigated. Mr. Tao, you got 10 seconds so we can move to the next topic.
Yeah, so look at what happened here. I agree with everything that everybody's saying, that there should be investigation across the board. Wherever there is any crime committed, they should be prosecuted, right, or brought to justice. But let's just say this. No government in Liberia now, in the way how crooked they are, will investigate themselves. I can assure you it will be difficult because so now let's say this because this is a position.
So we accept that now as normal.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to do that. These guys are so criminal. They're not going to do that. So now, and the evidence is there. I'm not just saying that we've been following this for the past almost 30 years now. They're not going to invest. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who was so much position, she didn't do that. And whenever it came out, she said, I take responsibility. What does that mean? She's supposed to be locked up. If a crime is committed and you take responsibility, you're supposed to be locked up. It didn't happen. So in that particular environment, should we say because they're not investigating themselves, so it's not going to be fair, so all investigations should just shut down, nobody should be arrested, even if they were connected to some kind of crime from the past government or from this administration or from this political party? Let us just wait until they are actually ready and willing to investigate themselves. So let's just let everything ride on. Is that where we are going? Because this is what I'm sensing. I'm not saying what they're doing is fair and it's the right way. I'm saying it's somewhere to start. That the people that they're arresting, no matter where they come from, if it came out to where they are guilty, where they are found guilty and they're proved, they should be dealt with. That is some level, that is somewhere to start. That is all that I'm saying. But from what I'm hearing from everybody is that if they don't arrest themselves first for investigators, one which we know they should, that means it's not fair. So then what do we do? Just stop and shut it down.
No, that's not what we're saying. The Liberian people need to demand that. This government was elected because they found confidence in the government. So if the government is not doing what it's supposed to do, the Liberian people are supposed to stand up and demand. That's what I'm saying.
Alice, let me tell you this so I can get 1 minute. Let me just say this one minute. No, Dennis, look at what we don't understand about the governing system we have in Liberia. You have no unity in that governing system. Everything is split in a political, it's a clique. So the group that will stand up will only stand up from an opposition standpoint. And this is how we are. This is why I've been pointing out that we have to find a way to mitigate this stuff. We can't make any progress in this country.
Let me ask this.
It's not going to work.
Let me ask this. They are being called for, some are calling for the IG Gregory Coleman to recuse himself from the investigation because they are finding him. They are, people showing, especially coming from Martin Colley, that the police, their cars that they've all boasted of, there's no budget line, they have come from the cartel. So people are saying, hey, Gregory should step down. But the president came up today, reaffirming his confidence in Mr. Coleman. Right? Mr. Number, did you see that? Should Gregory recuse himself?
I did. Absolutely. I think with all of the allegations swirling around him and the number of people closest to him who have been charged, and I think he should recuse himself. I think the president, I really think I am convinced now that he has a judgment problem, and I'm just really shocked. Look, I mean, we can go down to the fire incident at the Capitol building within 24 hours. He passed judgment on the fire incident. We can go to Kamara from Telecom while the investigation was going on. He paid the man, which in itself was telegraphing to the investigator that, look, this man, you got nothing to do with this man, let him go. And what happened? He was exonerated. Sano Johnson or Daniel Sano gets up and insult everybody in sight. The president goes to Minister of Information and goes there to pat him on the back. And now this, with all that is going on, how is it that this president will get up and tell Gregory Coleman that, he's doing a good job and that, he is his man? Look, and let us first of all, let's disaggregate what we have here. Arrest is not equivalent to conviction. I really want us to make sure we separate the two. The fact that these people have been indicted and all of that, it doesn't mean they have been convicted.
I mean, we can look indicted.
That's the next one I was coming to. The fact that we are extolling these people, and praising them for doing what? It's like you get in the money you expected to brush your teeth. That is what you're supposed to do. Would you praise you for brushing your teeth? I don't think so. They are supposed to go after these people. That's their job. I don't think I have a praise reserved for this kind of effort. I think this is too minimalist. We are giving these people way too much of free pass. For getting up to going after these people, that's why we should come and praise them. Praise them for what? For what? And even at that, they're not even doing 10% close to what they're supposed to do. You yourself, you mentioned here the preferential treatment. Jamal King went to the police station. He had a water bottle in his hand, walking up and down in the police building. They go for Joe Howard Taylor, the former vice president, the former first lady, the former senator. They are forcibly entering her car. For Christ's sake, she has attained a certain stature in society. She deserves a certain courtesy. I don't care about charges. That's different. Yes, if you want to investigate, you should do that. But you have to extend the common courtesy, decency. First entering the woman's car, she said she wants to go to the bathroom. They said no. What is that? And this president is going to police station and declaring a vote of confidence, all because he's on a revenge drill, with the CDC, everything. This gangster police director we have now, because that's what he's turning out to be. All of his style is gangsterism. Policing is a science. It's not everything you have to project strength, and demean people. That's not policing. That's gangsterism. And all of this is happening on the heel of all of this. This little poor woman is laying up in the hospital because they rough her up. She's all tensed up and she's having medical issues. And Joe Barker is going to get up and go to the police station to tell Gregory Coleman, you're doing a wonderful job. Keep it up. Keep it up. Are you kidding me? I think Gregory Coleman has lost the confidence of the Liberian people. I think he has lost every ounce of credibility that is required for this investigation. I think he should recuse himself. He should step aside. And why is it that these people are even recusing themselves? We're talking about, they're doing well investigating. Well, they got a former vice president in the cell, Biago, who, because of the preponderance of evidence that has been thrown on the table, he himself threw in the towel and said, you know what? They didn't too heavy for me. He stepped aside. What about him? Is he being investigated?
Yeah,
We don't
he
know that.
recused himself, but the president replaced him. So that shows that there is something there. So
No,
What about
why is he
AB?
not
What
being
about AB
investigated?
Krumah, who they said were working with the cartel? Did they do any deep investigation into him? Or they put him in another position of power?
exactly.
There was investigation, but we never saw the finding.
So
But let me
all
go
of
to
these
Dr.
mixed
Pearson.
messaging going back,
Dr.
back to
Pearson,
you, brother.
Dr. Mali have not spoken at all in almost 40
And
minutes.
so you got to interrupt him because that. Are you the moderator?
I mean, look, not CMC stuff we're doing here, ability is
Oh,
not here.
that's the
Dr.
Even
Pearson,
Dr. Pearson have not spoken in a long time.
this is the best in the business. So whatever I do is codified into law, because when the best in the business, whatever I do, that's the style. People
Send the
journalism.
Malian Empire, right?
Before the Malian Empire, there's been nothing like this. Dr. Pearson, on the fairness question, and then should Gregory step aside?
Gregory should step aside. I couldn't have said more than what a progressive has said. Look, let me put it this way. I'm getting my sources are telling me that the UP are getting to Dennis to subdue me on the platform, so I can't speak more. But no problem, we inside. But look, let me clarify a few things, right? Number one, Madam Morba, I agree with much of what you said on the fairness issue. What I don't agree with is the point when you said we're listening more to social media and the ESA from the civilians. You know, they were interested to know that there have been no arrests made besides Madam Joy Howard Taylor that was not as a result of social media pressure and revelations. From the Paul King to the Peter King situation from the beginning to that of the security under Gregory Coleman, who's going to be the inspector general of the country with all the knowledge and security from Harvard University. They didn't know people under him were messing up there. He didn't have any clue down to NSA and to LDEA. So no, it has been social media pressure from Rodney C.A., Stanton Waterspoon, Collie, Focus on Africa and other platforms. So they have no credit. I should clarify also, even the drug bust at the not LD, but at the RIA, the first $19 million drug bust that started the whole thing. It was not the U.S. embassy tip off. It was not LDE. It was not LMP. It was a girl a lady who stumbled upon the product that was supposed to be traveling on a day that she wasn't expecting to be traveling. And the wrong person was standing behind the machine at the wrong time. Open up Pandora box, and today we hear where we are. So no, on Madam Joy Howard Taylor, there is no official declaration of any evidence of how she's linked to this entire charges upon her. Whatever we're hearing again is coming again from Front Page Africa and other social media platforms, madam. When you're hearing talking about telephone call, there's no official information from the government. And that's the reason why some of us believe that this whole drug conversation we're having will not be happening if we're not doing what we're doing now. So I appreciate all of us who are involved in this fight. And that's why the Liberian people will not give up on this fight until we see the bottom of it. And let me say this for a fact. And the progressive number made it clear. Arrest is just not the end of the game. And we should be very careful here. Look, I do not agree 100% with just arresting anybody and charging them because you feel you want to use the power of the law. I'm against it in this instance. Why? Because the case of drug in Liberia is non-bailable. You put a false charge on somebody, you would have damaged them before you can even establish that fact. So don't go for people when you know you don't have full proof evidence of what you're going after them for. Do your homework properly. That's what I was saying for. So when you charge a person to court, you should have substantial evidence to prove your case. There should be no political coercion or no weaponization of the law.
Thank you.
Dennis, 1 minute.
I want to go to Dr. Mallory.
Yeah, but just a second. Just a second. I want to clarify. When I said that social media should not be given credence in some instances, for example, I'm talking about when Gregory Coleman said some higher ups are involved. Now, from there, other people started guessing who all are involved. And that's what I mean. But when you give me an example of Ronnie C, and Ronnie C is a renowned journalist. Many other Dennis Jar is a journalist. But many others are journalists, and they are, well respected outlets. So those are not the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about people insinuating things on the social media.
Thank you. Dr. Mali.
Yeah. I see that a lot of opposition view try to permeate this platform tonight from my own perspective. But however, even on the very platform, I see that the equal distribution are coming down. I even see that the equal distribution of talking time is being undermined by fairness on the very platform tonight.
That's
However,
true.
I strongly believe that the doctrine of fairness is in the eyes of the beholder, based on the context, the facts, and the circumstances. Government is a structural institution. Government can never undermine itself. So, if we have come to the crossroad, the high-ranking officials, like the president's son, who is not an official, but other officials of government have been named, and we are taking issue from the public opinion that they have not been brought forth. Good. My question now is, what is the opposition doing? If the opposition have these facts with the president's son, have the facts with the foreign minister and the police inspector, I think this is the time now for the opposition to showcase, take the government by the horn, go to court and challenge the government, and so that we, the citizenry, can benefit. Why is it that some people are named, they have not been brought to justice, or they have not been investigated? I think this is where the opposition have done a gross disservice. And so I'm challenging the opposition to come forth and take the issue by the horn, go to court and challenge the government why the president's son is not answerable to this serious issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Dennis,
when
we get 5 seconds, please.
No, I wanted to define opposition, Mr. Dr. Mali.
Well, opposition are a group of individuals or organizations that don't believe in the philosophy of a sitting government. And so they come to present their own case from their own perspective. And their own
Are you in opposition, Dr. Mali?
Well, come in now. And their own perspective most of the time can be very subjective rather than objective. I yield.
It's politics.
You.
Are you in opposition to the government, Dr. Mali?
Pardon me?
Are you in opposition to the government, or are you a supporter of the government?
Well, I'm a neutral citizen. I try to see it from a neutral standpoint and to be very objective rather than being subjective. Because most of the things we are seeing on the platform tonight, like for instance, the CMC, he's talking from the CMC playbook. Okay? So I cannot challenge him. That's his perspective.
Dr. Mali, do you agree that Gregory Coleman, the IG, should recuse himself?
Well, that would depend on the facts, the content, and the circumstances.
The data.
Mr. Dad, let me get a take on that, please, quickly.
I'm in the queue.
Okay, go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, and I'll be short. First of all, I wanted Dr. Mali the record to show, even though I got on here late, but this is the second go around. I have only gone once. So you were talking about equal time. I just want him to know that. 2, on the opposition, quickly, look, we in the CMC, we were coming out on September 5th. Maybe you don't remember that. It is before the government came out and finally started arresting some of these people at the police station, including some of these deputies and so far and so on. But we still have our fingers, on the trigger, and we're ready to come out. The opposition is speaking out. I mean, maybe you're not listening. Even Amara Kone, who may not be considered opposition, he's now challenging Daniel Sano. If you didn't hear, he got 48 hours to produce evidence on some of the charges he leveled. So the opposition is coming out. I think the voices are building to a critical mass. You probably just missed that. I wanted to put that out there, but that was for my 5 seconds.
Just 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute.
I want us to go to our next issue, which is tied into this one.
Just 1 minute.
I wanted time, please. I swear. I wanted to say, Dr. Molly, please. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Molly.
No,
Say a minute begin. I'll be
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah. What I want to say here tonight is that back to Mr. Nangwe. With all due respect to your portfolio as an outstanding opposition, what I'm seeing here is that this conversation from the opposition standpoint should get elevated from talking point to tangibles. Quote unquote. Thank you.
Okay, my point with Gregory Coleman is that, of course, he should recuse himself, and the buck stops with him. Part of being a police director or the inspector general is not only to catch, criminals who are in the public, is to make sure that things within your ranks is up to, it's up to snuff. If somebody right under your nose is engaged with the cartel and taking money, taking, a pickup, taking all kinds of things, things that you're over, including the Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia, those men are directly under your purview, your supervision. If they're engaged in illicit behavior and being, accomplice to drug dealing in Liberia, and you're not doing internal investigation or internal management or monitoring them, and they've been doing this for years or many months, that's on you. Yeah, I'll give a quick example. People who are business owners, they don't only protect the customer, they don't only try to protect themselves when the customer is stealing from them, but they try to protect themselves from their own employees stealing from them. That's why they have certain internal mechanisms to make sure the employees don't just take money or take properties from the store or from the corporation. So as an inspector general, you should be minding your own people who are working underneath you. And he didn't do a good job of that. A lot of those people under his purview have been implicated in this case. So I do think he should recuse himself.
Thank you. Dr. Mala, you got two views here. Just the same fairness. Though Mercy said, Dr. Jones, I do appreciate your point and honest view. These guys are all political, not patriotic. And even Montgomery said, you're making a side to her. She's laughing so hard.
The circumstances, I won't make it loud. The circumstances.
Our colleague, who is a big fan of the show, Sam Waddle, said Liberia is lucky to have President Bouaka as president at this time. The president who is determined to meet this critical moment head on and not flinch. Finally, a real president. But two issues which are kind of little related to it. We're talking about drug money here, right? Tiawan Gonglo, Councillor Tiawan said Gonglo is demanding full disclosure on the financing of the 6 million Foya Presidential Center, right? The issue why I brought this, I'm trying to connect it, which I want you to help me, and I will start with you, Dr. Malik. The Foya project, they said there was some 10 to 13 million used, and that was not in the budget line. So people were wondering where the money come from. So the way drugs money is in the country, people are wondering whether there's any connection. But that's not what Councillor Gonglo is saying. Just want a full disclosure or some form of investigation so we'll know the money that built the Foya Center, where did it come from? Dr. Malik, do you think Councillor Gonglo have a point here?
No. I think the well-learned legal mind don't have a point here because I've been following him throughout. I notice we are putting up a lot of political showmanship in Liberia rather than addressing issues that will satisfy the citizenry. This time, on the Foya issue, I thought by this time, like our legal mind, well-learned legal mind, Councillor Gongolo, would have taken the government to court with all his facts. I think this is the trend now we need to be taking in Liberia to depart from the showmanship thing. All we have, according to the government, yeah, it's part of it, but we should go beyond that.
Let me stop you. Dr. Malik, you say is the government under any obligation to tell us where the money comes from since it was not in the budget?
Well, I don't think the government is under obligation.
Okay.
What? Wow.
Thank you.
Dr. Malik, is the government answerable to the people or not?
Yes, the government is answerable to the people, but the government is not on an obligation on a item agenda like what happening in Foya.
What is the difference? What is the difference between being answerable to a particular people and being on an obligation to the people? Is there any difference?
Yes, there's a chief difference, very big difference.
Okay.
Be answerable is by choice. Under obligation, there should be some legal ramification that you are bound. And we have the citizenry have social contract with the government. They can do or cannot do. So yes, they are answerable.
I can explain that to you.
They are not under force.
They are.
Forced to it.
They are. The Liberian people, through their representation, have the power of the purse. You can't spend their money without their acquiescence through their elected representatives. That's the accountability that the government has for the people.
Thank you, Mr. C. Let me come to you, and I'll use both. The Tiawan Gonglo is demanding full disclosure, and then I want to also add, because we talk about justice here, we're talking about fairness later. 3 years later, the late Charloe Musu murder case remains unresolved. There's a group that come out and say they want this, they want a fresh probe. They want to know who killed Charloe Musu. And this also has to do with fairness or justice being blind. So I want to get your take on what Councillor Gonglo is demanding and the call for probe into the death of our little sister Charloe Musu.
Thank you, Dennis. Well, Councillor Gonglo has always been on a path of accountability and justice. He has the credibility, he has the track record. Or he acts in a constitutional republic that is answerable to its people because it was elected by the people to be answerable to them, because it is obligated to the people to serve them and answer any and every question, is what Mr. Gonglo is doing. You saw it wise to build a project in Foya called a presidential villa. The way government runs, and I need to educate Dr. Malley here, every penny that is spent by a republic, in our case, the Republic of Liberia, must be appropriated. It must be to the knowledge of the legislature, because the legislature does the appropriation of the budget. That is when and then it becomes legal for the executive branch of government to spend that money. And Dr. Malley is educated enough to know this fact. Now, the state has not been willing to tell us whether or not the funds used to build the Foya project were budgeted for. And that is the question Councillor Gonglo is asking. Where did the money come from? Mr. President, can you please tell us? It is in the best interest of the president, who I believe have nothing to do with corruption, to tell us. If it was wise to build a project, the wise thing to do is to also tell us where the money comes from. All right. So why is the government? No, another part of this is the party of Alexander Belande Cummings, which is the Alternative National Congress. They wrote the LSCC formally. Dr. Malley is talking about code. Cummings Party, ANC, wrote the government through the LSCC, asking for all the facts concerning this particular Foya project. The LSCC acknowledged the letter. This is a letter that I written 3 months ago. But the government is yet to give an answer to the ANC, to tell the ANC that, well, concerning your request, this is where the money came from. We have not heard from the government to this date. It is in the best interest of our government to say, oh, Lord, ANC, fellow Liberians, the money used to build the Foya project came from this place. It was budgeted, or it was not budgeted. It was a special arrangement, and this is where the money comes from. For Dr. Male to sit here and tell intellectuals like us that the government of Liberia is not obligated to its people, then what's the reason we have government for? Then we shouldn't have government, right? What kind of government is not obligated to its people? On what circumstance a government is not obligated to its people? This is not a national security issue to say, well, this is national security issue, so we can't tell you. So I think that Male is wrong, and sorry that I have to provide the education. And then there's last but not least, the Charloe Musu case. I don't have all the facts. I followed the story in the past. The fact that it's coming up now and there has not been any logical conclusion, it also speaks to the fact that the state, the government, is under obligation to bring clarity to this. And this is where I close. Yeke Koluba was removed by the legislature, the House of Representatives in particular, as a representative. He went to the Supreme Court. Dr. Male is talking about court. He filed a simple case. Hey, I was removed by my colleagues. I remain the legitimate representative of the people because I was elected. They said I violated their rules, so they removed me. Can you make a decision here? The Supreme Court, it has gone over 2 months now. They have not decided in a matter that has to do with representation. This is an electoral matter. More than likely, from my understanding, the court will treat it with urgency because a group of Liberians have been denied representation. They have not decided. This is the court that Dr. Male is telling us any issue the opposition people should run there. Where I agree with Dr. Male, my big brother here is the opposition in the step up. We're not saying you should fight the government. It is your responsibility to hold the government accountable. And what we see, I don't see that the government has opposition. And it is in the interest of the Republic for us to have a robust, opposition that is coordinated, that has a leadership, that speak with one voice, so that we can help our government and compare it to serve us. Just as we have a robust media here at Focus on Liberia, and we'll continue to do our work. We will be robust. We will not, President Boga said, no scare cow. And we're not scared here like the Dr. Mane who say
Sacred.
Huh?
Sacred cows.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the correction. So there's nothing called scare cow, right?
No, it's sacred, meaning that it's something that's special and venerated. So it's sacred to people. They don't touch it. They don't just take it.
I appreciate that correction.
Sacred,
brother.
Mr. John,
Sacred cow. All right. Thank you, guys.
Liberian pronunciation. Okay. J. Victor.
1 minute interjection here, please.
J. Victor, we talk about the what Tiawon Bongo is calling for, and the call for Charloe Musu, because let me put it in context, right? The former Chief Justice Gloria Mususka was accused, and so when the new government came,
she was convicted, Mr. John. She wasn't accused. She was convicted.
She went to jail. Oh, Mr. John.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, he was in jail. So now, if it is not what people are saying, if it is not Gloria Mususka, but the lady is the girl is dead, then who? So government, please open this case and look into it, because we want to get her killer. Right? We're not necessarily saying it got to be Justice Mususka, but who is it? Because her death cannot be in vain. And then Councilor Gonglo is saying, we want to know the Foya project. That's the so what's your take on those two?
Well, how much time I got, Dennis?
2 hours.
2 minutes? Okay, I'll give half of that to Tavo. He hasn't spoken in a while, even though I don't like him much.
I know why.
He's been quiet for a while.
You have no choice but to like me.
Dr. Pearson already spoke to this, even though Council Gongo is raising, but the ANC has done this. The CMC has also done this with inquiry from the government. The source.
No, I haven't spoken to this. I told you, my sources told me that the GMB got to Dennis.
No, but what I meant was this Foya project I think you indicated that ANC has actually rated this government to maybe I misheard, but the ANC has already done that. They've rated the government. We have raised concerns, but the reason why this is concerning is look, we understand the identical thing is going on in Sierra Leone, where this drug kingpin resides, who is suspected to have far reaches in Liberia as well. Just Ladica. We understand he's sponsoring the same conference center in Sierra Leone. This is why we also are very curious as to who is actually paying for this project in Lofa. And I think we deserve to know. We need to know. I agree with Councilor Gongo. I agree with the ANC. I agree with the CMC. The government needs to come forward and explain to us the source of this funding. Two, let me go back to Dr. Jones quickly. We have declared we don't want to politicize the fight against drug. We want to give the government a space, but we won't mount the pressure. You and I know in the Liberia, where have we gone to court here and come out with a verdict? Ponadikova, what did we get? Julie Andy, what did we get? Removal of 10 official, what did we get? Are we going to waste our time here? Say we're going to court? Yeah, maybe that's another option, but we have refused to exercise that option. I give him 1 minute to towel, Mr. Dennis.
No, why you give me 1 minute?
My 1 minute, in addition to whatever you would have had. If you want to let me go back.
2 minutes at 3. But look,
I get him, man, my time. He's still.
Well, who's saying to me next anyway?
I was next. Well, look, let me say this, Dennis. Yes, we need to know when the government spend the country's money, the money don't belong to the government. And if the government or officials in government are undertaking projects and their cartel in the country that require for money, invisible money to move around, and if the president's son, who is also a Foya boy, he's connected to this stuff, or his name was mentioned, and all these projects are taking place, or even the president's own house. Yes. Because you see, there's a problem. This is what I'm not political, because when George Weah came to power in 6 months, nobody knew where the money came from when he built all those places over there in front of Baptist Seminary. And so this is the problem. Nobody wants for them to question anything else when they're under people in power. And this is the issue. This is where Liberia is. So no, the president, even now, more than before now, there should actually be pressure where that money came from. Because here now we have all the drugs in the country. There are all kinds of money being thrown around. And who financed that, where the money came from? Because at first, they lied that it was an OAU stuff or Mining River stuff. Then they change it. So there is something that's going on there. And we can actually say, is this drug money? And then the question can be, who financed your election? Where did the money come from? So it can go that far. So if the president, but look, none of the government in Liberia were really designed to work. They will not work. The guys, y'all keep saying that they don't work for us, they don't work for the Liberian, for the government. But look, to the Charloe Musu case, to my sister Alice, you see what I was saying here? When look at how quick the judge reacted with all the other crimes that were going on. Koji was everywhere where somebody was getting chopped up. Anytime there was somewhere where somebody got chopped up and they got killed or they got injured, Jefferson Koji were always there. They did not arrest him. But the moment there was something about Gloria Musu Scott because of her connection to UP and Boaka, quick. I'm not saying whether she did it or not. She was convicted and locked up. It's not a gender stuff. This problem that we have, until we find a way to deal with it, we are split up into group gangs, into camps, political so-called party camps. And that is why we can't make any progress. What happened? I didn't see any appeal. I didn't see retrial. The moment Joseph Boakai came to power, the lady is out. She's serving on some board. This is what we have going on in the country. So this is why we can't get anywhere. Dr. Mali, I agreed with him to some extent on. I listen to people that have their position in terms of, it's all from a political perspective. It's not even from a national perspective to try to politicize it. Because in this multi-party democracy you have, You must demonize the other person. They must not succeed. You will sacrifice the future and the stability of the nation so that you can remove that other party so that you can come in. And this is what we find ourselves. When look, you know what made the progressive movement so powerful? Because you were not split up into all these groups. It was the government not allowing people to be able to progress politically and to be able to elevate themselves versus the people. It was two forces. Everybody seeking one intention. They wanted to be better. They wanted to have a part of the national cake. So what happened? That was a movement. Look in Burkina Faso. Look in Mali. Those. I'm not saying what the government are correct or whatever, but the removal of people that compare. The people crossed all political. There was no political stuff. They rose up in Mali. The young people and older people that rose up. They say France is the one that is bringing this here. The government have failed. There was no the one is the one. Look in Ethiopia when the TPLF was coming in, sponsored by the West in major areas because that was their guy for 40 years. Honor Hajjestu Haile Mariam, and they were trying to overthrow Abiy. And the US here that are not part of RCC was demanding that Abiy should step down. All the people in Ethiopia came together as one group all across the world, went to the US embassy, everywhere to British embassy. They demonstrated that no, our country cannot be torn apart. What happened? It disarmed them. Liberia,
3 minutes over, man.
But Liberia failed to reach that. You keep asking why the opposition, they can't come together because they are split up into groups and camps. One group move, you don't have enough push. Because the other group
thank you, sir.
Where we are. How do we we need to cross this so that we can work together as a group for us to move our country forward.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Pearson. We are talking about Councillor Gonglo and Charloe Musu. And this is linked to accountability and security and transparency.
Yeah, yes, Dennis. Look, I agree with everything that Mr. Nangwedi Progressive said. I think it's in President Bwakai's best interest if the LACC can respond to Mr. Cummins' request to have that project review and probably investigated, and the public should be made aware of the findings as to how that property was funded, where the money came from. Was there a competitive process in bidding for the contract? Who has the contracts? And so far so good. How much money is in there to just clear the air? Because the thing there is that you cannot come to power on the ambient of transparency, fairness, and accountability and be hiding stuff and be doing dubious stuff. That project is nowhere accounted for within the national budget. That project is not accounted for under any of the presidential projects, exclusive projects. That project is not accounted for under Ministry of Public Works. So then where did the money come from? It's not a private project either. The president made that clear to us. He didn't know where the money came from. He didn't know what the project was. Or then he just saw it. So he said development had to happen and he embraced it. Well, I would like to see development. I think Lofa needs to be developed. I think any other rural counties must see development, even down to Pribu. I want to see development there. Harper City is broken down, tear down. I want to see development there. But it should be with transparency, right? On the Charloe Musu stuff, I feel very strongly a sense of big disappointment within the Bwakai's administration. If I recall, the removal of cabinet was one of the agenda under the Bwakai's campaign in opposition, that he was mistreated and wrongly removed. President Bwakai had the opportunity to reappoint him after he came to power. He didn't do that. He failed to do that. So everything else he said was a vla from the old man, right? Then it comes down to the Glorious former Chief Justice Gloria Musu's card, right? Linked to me one way or the other because of our background, but it goes to say what good for for John is good for poor. Now, President Bwakai was on record critically condemning that they had the facts as to who committed that murder. It was not Madame Musu Scott, right? It was not Justice Scott. He went as far as going to the court. He went as far as going to the prison. He had the opportunity now to go and have facts in court. His Solicitor General, after he won elections, went to the court on appeal, and he did not represent the case in a way that the case would have been sustained. So it ended up with Musu walking out free. Now, I don't fault anyone going to court through the due process and come out free. The law is the law. But then if they have facts before they got to power that Jefferson Koji was the one responsible for the death of Charloe Musu, then why holding them back from prosecuting Jefferson Koji after they have taken power? You know? And so for me, it's a problem. It's a problem because these dishonest state leadership must be stopped. And I think that's why we need someone with integrity like Gonglo, someone with integrity like Mr. Cummings to be the ones that will be speaking on these kind of issues. And anyone who feels the government is not accountable to the people, then something is fundamentally wrong. Because government is by the people and for the people. And if the people have no pleasure in the government's function, they have the right to ask them to be removed. By our dictators and our authoritarian form of leadership regarding the country, they will beat us down in the dirt. They will run down our students. They will tear gas them and they beat them into submission. And then somebody said, "Why the opposition not us?" The opposition is not us because the Human Rights Watch report that just was published in Liberia with our Independent Human Rights Commission said that our government is repressive, suppressive, right? So there's no political freedom in the country right now under President Joseph Boyka. We are now going back to the dark days of the PRC regime, right? So I don't see why we should be allowing President Boyka to do these things. I think one day when our cup is full, some of us will be in our teacher and say enough is enough, and we'll be in Liberia on the streets. Probably they will put us in sub beat, but we'll come out outside, we'll come our hands up like Madam Ellen Jones said this day, and maybe they'll make us president too. So that's the way that we can solve our problem in our country.
I always like Dr. Mali to come after Dr. Pearson. Oh, Dr. Mali, you spoke to this. You said Tiawan Gonglo is not.
Yeah, he disappeared. I think my turn to go. You just.
Yeah, let Alice go before you because you're always giving your time to other people.
What?
Alice, Councilor Gonglo and Charloe Musu, what's your take?
Well, I think he is right. You know, I do not support innocent people going to jail. So if the UP government knows that Councillor Scott was sent to jail unfairly, was convicted unfairly, I think there's a need, there is a process. Reopen the case, go through the whole thing, and exonerate her. But to just let her walk out of jail and with nobody, with nobody accountable for the crime is something that is shocking. The whole investigation needs to be established so that the real doer of the act will be identified. So we can't just shove everything under the rug. If she's not guilty, okay, I understand. Maybe opposition was in power at the time, but now that her own government is in power, we want fair play. Open the case, go through the case, look at all the witnesses, look at the evidence, and then those who are responsible for the death of the young girl will be brought to justice. We can't just leave everything like this. So I think Councilor Gonglo is right. He's on the right track, and I hope people will pay attention to that.
Thank you. Mr. Morris.
All right. On the first issue, I think it's based. Somebody got to mute. There's a lot of sound background noise, please. It's based on the appearance of impropriety when it comes to this government, blatantly lying to the Liberian people through the Ministry of Information. Donald Sando came out and put his foot in his mouth, said that it was an MOU, thing. The president said he didn't know who started it. The rumors came out that it was a late, presidential minister of presidential affairs that started it. It was just clouded in mystery, So the Liberian people then started to attach something nefarious to the funding and the intention of that project. that the president in his own hometown or the city that is adjacent to his hometown is having such a massive, construction going on, and he has no, knowledge on who appropriated the money, who took millions of dollars to go do, construction work in your backyard, and you know nothing about it, or if you did, but you're lying to the Liberian people, and your ministers and deputies are lying to us. It was suspicious. That's any reasonable person would be suspicious of that. The second thing, I'm a little disappointed in Councilor Gongo, unless you guys didn't fully disclose, because I think as a legal man, he knows that he has a legal remedy, which is the Freedom of Information Act. That's a legal tool that you can use to compel the government to disclose information. So did he not file a Freedom of Information Act against the government? Did he just write a letter? Because again, like Dr. Mali was saying, by although the government should respond to you, but they're not legally compelled to respond to you if they don't have to. But if you use the legal remedy that you have by filing a Freedom of Information Act, they're compelled to legally respond to you. So I would think he would have gone through that, that medium to make sure that he get a response from the government to give him the information that he's requesting. If this thing wasn't funded by the Liberian people, who funded it? Because when you say funded by the Liberian people, it has to be in the budget, like Mr. Sia was saying. That's our money. That's the money that we, by the acquiescence of our elected representative, we give the government, the ability to spend that money on our behalf and for our benefit. So if you use $6 million allegedly without our acquiescence, or it didn't come from us, who did it come from? That's why the Freedom of Information Act is very important. We use it in the United States, and they should use it in Liberia. The learned legal minds should use it to their advantage. But lastly, I will use a meme. It's like a meme, but it was a real thing that happened with the former president of Nigeria, his wife, Patience Jonathan. She has a famous meme. Maybe you all seen it on Facebook. She said, "Will you keep quiet?" Well, you don't know the content. You think she's telling somebody to shut up or to be quiet. But what she's saying is that when those Chibok girls was kidnapping in Nigeria, all the girl bring back our girls. She was saying it looked like the mother was in collusion with, was colluding with those people because they were quiet. As an African mother, if your child is kidnapped, you will be rolling on the ground, you'll be crying, you'll do everything in your power to bring justice for your child. But those mothers were really quiet. So the point here is I'm using that to say, why is our former Chief Justice so quiet? She's sitting on a luxurious and lucrative position in Liberia as a legal mind, legal expert, one of the supreme and top legal minds in our country. She's not making a case to bring justice for her daughter or her niece. And somebody else have to ask about why isn't this young lady's death being brought to justice? And the woman who was supposed to be her mother, who raised her, who you would think loved her very much, is not crying and doing everything, but she's pretty much keeping quiet. So that's what's baffling to me, because if your daughter or your niece, your nephew was murdered in your own home, you won't rest, you won't go take a job and keep quiet about it. You'll want that justice to be, to be had on her behalf. So that's suspicious to me also. But I think Councilor Gongo, any well-meaning Liberian should use the Freedom of Information Act to compel the government legally to disclose information that they want to do. But that'll be my take on
it. Thank you. And tonight, time is fast spent, so we'll just conclude on these two cases and just pick anyone. Number one, President Bouaka intervened to end the UL impasse and order rehabilitation. The crisis raises deeper questions about leadership and institutional stability. In fact, they turned the name of the president into my problem. So this whole LU something, did President Bouaka go in late? I mean, we see this thing over and over at the university, and the university really is bad. Sometimes we see the students outside demonstrating. This time they say, fix the school. That's their new chant. I mean, I saw the Fender bathroom, and it's like, are these being used by human beings? I mean, even in 1980 or 1979, do you expect people to go to school and go in the bush to ease themselves? I mean, why do we have this thing over and over? LU is falling apart, and what can be done? So that's number one. Number two, Liberia agreed to accept 1,200 deportees or foreigners from the United States. The first batch arrived. What do you think about this too, man? Let me start with Dr. Pearson on those two issues. And this is our final issue. No conclusion. You just use 1 minute 30 seconds to address all two issues.
I think with the deportee stuff, quite frankly, Liberia has been a humanitarian country for a long time. We've been very hospitable to our neighbors. And I mentioned this before when this topic first came up sometimes earlier this year. And I stay to that. I think that's one of the excuses we can give. But if you put that aside, I think it just shows how weak Liberia is. I saw a video from, I think, Nigeria, a news clip where they were laughing at us and making mockery of Liberia. That they have scientists here, they have engineers here. Why they didn't send some of them? They send criminals, rejected criminals that U.S. don't want, and we took them unconditionally. And I think that.
Do you know where we're taking them? Are they in a hotel, or would they be in jail, or?
Well, I think you can call incompetent Jeremy Pia, who is the incompetent Foreign Affairs Information Minister, or the prolific insult manager, Sano Johnson, to clarify that. I'm not taking government pay.
Daniel Sando
to provide information on their job. So you can go to those incompetent guys to give you the information. But I'm just concerned that I think it's colonial. To me, I think like Africa should be beyond this. We should be able to stand up like Nigeria or Burkina Faso and tell them, take that trash information from before us and deal with your issue, right? We are not your trash bin, and we should be finished with that. But on the humanitarian grounds, our country should remain open to anyone who has trouble and need help. On the issue of LU, President Barker drove to LU in multi-million-dollar car at a dilapidated state premier university that he said he attended some time ago, and they're not even on what he graduated. I question that degree from if he ever had one from LU.
Okay.
I would like to see a transcript, because I don't think the fact that he drove in our compound and saw the building the way it is, to even commission a PhD program in our structure, it tells me he has zero interest in that University of Liberia. And he drove out of there. His whole intervention was fruitless. It was unnecessary. If I were in Liberia at the time, stay at the University of Liberia, he would not be allowed to enter the premises of the University of Liberia unless he can go and use the bathroom or the toilet, and then come back in the classroom that is leaking, no roof, and then we have the meeting under the sun. That's why we hold the meeting. And that, I mean no insult. I just try to say how dire the situation is. Other countries, people 12 years old, 16 years old, they're talking about technology, building robots and building roads and building skyscraper. We're talking about cleaning toilet and fixing toilet at LU.
Thank you.
Yeah. Look, put them in a 44 continuum, President Barker and entire cabinet, and carry them to the Caribbean as another repatriation.
Thank you. Ellis.
Yeah, look.
On LU, was presidential intervention necessary or overdue? Is UL governance structure fundamentally broken? What reforms are urgently needed? How do disruptions at UL affect national development?
Okay. Yes, I think the allocation process has to be restructured, right? And there's a guy called Frank Zano. He speaks on Africa. Whether it's true or not, I don't know all the dialects in Africa, but he said in most African language, there's not a word for maintenance, right? And one of the overhead costs in this country is maintenance. You have to allocate money for the continuous maintenance of your facilities, whether that's painting every 3 years, having a robust janitorial staff on payroll that are doing a good job, and have a supervisor who supervises the work that they do. Make sure you inspect the bathroom at the end of the day, and things of that nature. You have to have active, money allocated actively for repairs throughout the year, the school year. Are we doing that? If so, where's that money going? If the janitors are not cleaning the bathroom, if the toilets are breaking and there's not money to repair them, what are we really doing? Those are the basic level of administrating. If you're an administrator, you got to make sure you account for those things. So I don't think it's the school itself, but just the fact that you're not allocating money for continuous maintenance of your facilities.
Do you recommend it be closed down until it brought back?
Yeah, I think they should close it bring the best minds, the best managerial minds in the country to structurally, restructure how we allocate, money in terms of making sure that it's a necessity, it's essential that the janitorial budget for that administration should not be touched. It should be set aside. Nobody can go and pick from it, do anything with it. It's integral to the hygiene of the student that money be set aside. And we have competent janitors on campus throughout the year that will be doing their work and being paid on time. And you prioritize them because the cleanliness of the campus also is a reflection of the country. So I think that's something that the government has to prioritize. The other issue you can go and and take care of it. But even in our capital building, similar thing. Where are the janitors in that building? Are they having money in the budget for repair in the actual facility that they make laws, in the legislate? The bathroom are dilapidated. When you go into certain places, the paints are peeling off. The building from the outside is looking raggedy. What are we doing? We don't know how to maintain the things that we build. Same thing with roads. So maintenance have to be a priority for our government moving forward, and they have to reflect that by allocating money for our maintenance crew to make sure that throughout the years our building and our facilities are well maintained. I'll leave it.
Thank you. And that I don't agree with that man who said no work. The work for maintenance is to fix it. We have that in a language,
You got any, Gribble? What's the word for maintenance?
It's the same word for fixing, to fix something,
Okay,
right?
okay, fixing.
So that's the equivalent. We don't have to have that directly.
That's why we say that.
Exactly.
So I don't know what kind of linguist that guy. Is it my time? I might as well go, right?
No, I want Alice to go before you.
Okay.
Ladies before gentlemen.
It's not that, it's just that what everyone do is correct.
Okay, on LU, it is so disappointing that up to this time, we are talking about the University of Liberia that educated the vast majority of officials in Liberia. After the war, the University of Liberia have been in the same dilapidated conditions. It's not anything new. When I was at the university, like 1997, there's the chemistry lab. It was leaking while we're in class. Every time it rained, it was leaking. So these things started a long time. The bathroom was still bad the same way. And you think after the war, we had government that came to power, a legitimate government. It was not the rebel government. And still things have not changed. So sometimes I'm wondering whether it is all political. Is it something like people paying back, or trying to suppress the university or those that attend the University of Liberia? I don't understand. There is absolutely no reason why the University of Liberia will continue to face this kind of dilemma in the country. Because the capital building is right opposite the university. Some of the legislators over there, they attended the university. Some of them were even working in the offices, going to LU. And to think that
the speaker is still teaching there.
Right, some of them are teaching, some of them were students, and still they go on campus and the university is right on the main road. Nobody is embarrassed that the nation's highest university is looking like this. So I think one of the reasons things continue to happen like this because a lot of government officials got private universities. They want students to leave the universities and go to private universities so that they make more money while the university that cater to poor people is ruined. And so something actually has to be done. Recently, I saw a video where the university president was talking to some students from the Student Unification Party. And the students were expressing their disappointment that president after president, are they in cohorts with the administration of the country? Why is it nobody is speaking for the university? Every time they want students to be in the street marching before something is done. And now even if they close the university, I know somebody saying well, maybe they can close it or repair it. No, when it is closed, they're never gonna repair anything. So that means those students that cannot afford will not go to university. That's why we end up being. So while it is still open, people need to prevail on the central government to do something about the university, because everybody cannot go to private university. And
On the deportees.
on the deportees, I think, when you look at the situation in Liberia, where according to public record that people are living on $1.50 a day for food, and you taking the amount of deportees from the university, from the United States that have lived or experienced good lives, and taking them to the country that they have never been. So why would the government even accept that? I know Liberia is a humanitarian, but if somebody want to seek asylum and they go willingly, that's different. Somebody who is yanked out of the university, out of the United States, and you agree to accept them, instead of saying, well, take that person to their home country. Maybe they got other family members that will do something. Where are they going to stay? Who's going to feed them when everybody is looking for food to eat? The people there, they don't have jobs. How are you going to absorb people of this magnitude, 1,200? How are you going to find jobs for them? So, it's kind of mind-boggling when most of the people in Liberia don't have jobs. Here, when you seek asylum in the United States, you are guaranteed work permit. That's how you support yourself. They got other government assistance programs. Liberia has none. So on what basis are they seeking asylum in Liberia? So I don't really support that.
Thank you. And I'm coming to you, Dr. Male. I want you to start with the LU thing. And 20 people arrived at RIA on Thursday, the first group under Liberia's agreement to receive many as 1,200 third country deportees over 12 months. After the arrival, the group was put on a bus and taken away from the airport. And their destination was not identified, right? Liberia Justice Minister Oscar Tua said the deportees could apply for asylum in Liberia or leave the country. Okay. The Reuters newspaper, Reuters reported today that 5 people who resisted leaving the aircraft were subsequently sent to Equatorial Guinea rather than entering Liberia's reception arrangement. When I asked Dr. Pearson that where exactly do you know where they are going, Dr. Sam Wallow said, "Hey, Dennis, you should know." Sometimes they think journalism is magic or that the government shouldn't, because we sometimes ask the question and say, "Hey, why don't you file the Freedom of Information Act, or why don't you do this?" In other words, our government should not tell anything. We should go find it. Dr. Malik, what do you make of LU and the first batch of deportees arriving in Monrovia?
Firstly, I don't understand why other people continue to entrap His Excellency into the LU debacle. LU has a leadership. This president
is the visitor of the university.
Yes, this president.
He appoints the leadership, Dr. Malik.
That's what I'm saying.
The president appoints the leadership.
I don't want to focus on the president. I want to focus on the president of the university. Yeah. Because the issue of the university now lies squarely on the shoulder of the president of the university. The question now is, what are the blueprints the president brought to the university? What is the innovation? What is that plan of action that's supposed to elevate the university to a different level? I have not seen that. All right. Everything that is being said about the university right now, according to other panelists, these are reoccurring things. These have been happening from time immemorial. So the question now is, we brought in an outsider with the hope that with the hope
No, but
that
they are being, you said they are being happening for time immemorial. Why?
they have been happening from time immemorial because it's like probably we have not gotten the right leader to the
The right
university.
university leader?
Pardon me?
I said we have not gotten the right university leader.
I think so.
But why the successive president continue to appoint the wrong university leader? If you ask,
What? That's a leadership issue. It requires research, because don't also forget the president of the university is appointed by the president. Okay, so I don't know whether it's a political portfolio, but I think it should be non-political. So the issue continues to permeate our system because we don't have innovators coming to the university to really change things. I think so. But if the buck cannot be based squarely on the shoulder of the president of the Republic of Liberia, I disagree to that. Because then that means we try to politicize the crisis at the university. We have an administrator there. She is the president, all right? What are her plans? She knew about all of these things. She's been in power for some time now. How is she going to change the dynamics on the ground? I have not seen no new changes like that.
She said bulk of the money they send there is only to pay salaries. So there's no money left to even clean bathroom.
Okay. If there's no money left to even clean bathroom, as an innovative leader, what are you supposed to do?
Print new money.
Not print new money.
Okay, what?
Downsize.
You mean?
Retire people because we need money. You have to downsize the administration.
It's not her place to, I think they have like 8 vice presidents. So, but it's not her place to, she herself was appointed along with those 8 vice presidents.
I don't know what they do. Yeah, she can recommend. It's not her place. She can recommend because we want a good leadership. Right?
All right.
So if it is not her place, pardon me?
Let's talk about the deportees.
Well, for the deportees, first of all, I don't know their characteristics, whether they are criminal or non-criminal, I don't know. Secondly, I don't know their country of origin. According to the grapevine, sources coming in that most of them are rejected criminals and there are no space for them in the United States. And I think this is part of the terror syndrome, where we have to accept these people for money. And I overheard one of the panelists saying that this is going to have a burden on us. No, according to the information minister, said the burden of financing these people and servicing them is with the United States government. So I don't think there's a problem there. The problem there is if this thing is not managed properly, and if we agree that the allegation that some of these guys are criminal, they find themselves into the system, then we'll be in a big trouble, and a very big one too. Thank you. Is it my closing? Is it my closing?
Mr. Sear.
Hello?
Yeah, that's your closing.
Mr. Ja. Is this my closing?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Okay, but then lastly,
No,
I
he
just
said
wanted
no.
to
He said no.
Oh, there's not a closing.
No.
No, Mr. Sear, yeah, I will come back to you for 30-second closing.
Okay.
Mr. Sear, your take.
For the horse's own mouth.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you. On the deportee issues, the government of Liberia wisdom is we cannot say no to the world power, the world superpower, America. If we decide to do so, we will get punished. And we don't want to get punished by America. We don't want to get on the wrong side of America, because if we are on the wrong side of America, since we are a begging nation, and most of the crumbs that we beg for come from America, let us accept just about anything America wants. Then that is good for us as a country. That is why the Liberian government, in its wisdom, says, look, we will accept these deportees no matter the circumstances, no matter the individuals, whether or not we have facility that can host them, we'll take them in anyway so that we can be in the good graces of the United States of America. I disagree with that. I think the government decision is not wise to accept 1,200 people in our country when we don't even have the facility where these people can be kept. We don't have that. We don't even have a good facility for our own university. And there were our transition. We don't have a good facility for the University of Liberia. And now we are accepting 1,200 people from America, people who are used to quality of life and good facilities. We are accepting them because America wants us to do so. The University of Liberia issue, the president of the Republic of Liberia, President Joseph Yimambwaka, went back to the missionary mentality. Once that person is white, we'll have good leadership. But what we have come to find out, not because she's white, she's going to perform magic. No, the university is a public institution that must be funded by the University of Liberia. If the government is allotting between $38 to $40 million to run a university for the whole year, that is insignificant amount of money. It can run a university. Ever says something that I agree with. Maintenance is one of the things that we really need to factor in our governance. Our governance in Liberia. We need to have budget for maintenance, which would cover janitorial staff and technical people who will do actual carpentry, painting, and other things. We have to train these people. Others who are trained at that, we need to hire them, and they need to be on payroll. Every day they show up to work, they must find something to maintain. They should find something to fix. I think that will help. I am not sure if we have that. If we have that, then I think most of our public facilities will be in a much better situation. I'm not sure we have that. There where we need to look in a very serious way. So if you look at the leadership of our government, the finance minister is from the University of Liberia. Most of our leaders, the speaker, my understanding is that he was even teaching at the University of Liberia. He was called Accounting Kun. So this is Accounting Kun who is charged with the appropriation of the budget. He does not know accounting enough to know that University of Liberia needs at least $100 million, for the place to function, right? And now that the matter is saying, well, everything falls on the shoulder of the University of Liberia president. Well, how is she going to do it? I think the goal there was that since she's a white woman, she will go and beg the white people get money. And she'll bring the money, then our university problem will be solved. Now we just got to know that, no, not because she's white, she can go to America and beg all the university and they will give her money. It doesn't work that way. The university is the responsibility of our state. The state collect taxes, and the state should use those taxes to fund the government adequately. Imagine the legislature budget is more than the University of Liberia. The University of Liberia caters to the whole country. It is to build the future of our country. But the House of the legislature gets more money appropriated to it than the University of Liberia. All right. So tell me, how are we ever going to have a functional university when we are not allotting the necessary funds? Even though there'll be some issue of managing the funds, but we don't have enough already for the university. Magic is not going to be performed. Serial leadership will require that significant amount of money is sent to the university, and then we can exercise accountability and the execution of the funds so that we can have a functional university. Many people blame the students. I mean, I feel sorry for the young people who are hopeful, who want to live in a country. I mean, they go to school, they have leaking roofs, chalkboards are cracked up. Our sisters don't have bathrooms. And this is not a story of this year. It's a story of since the war ended since 2006. This is 2026. This is 20 years in the making. We don't have a functional and befitting university. It is a disaster on our hands, and it falls squarely on our leaders. Not only this government, previous governments failed us miserably when it comes to maintenance. And it's shameful. It's very shameful. The next budget, the university will not even get 50 million. Maybe if it does, maybe it'll be a good thing. But the University of Liberia need at least 200 million. The 200 million that are coming from Mentor C, I thought they were going to divert it to the University of Liberia. The finance minister is who he is today because of the University of Liberia and his own effort, right? Why is he not convincing the president that the university need at least 150 million, Mr. President? Why is he not doing that? I'll call on the finance minister to do so. And the president must not be told. He should know this. The speaker should know this. The speaker promised even JFK that you were going to allow, I think, about 10 million or 20 million or so. He failed miserably. Well, I'll leave it there. Jeff Victor, your man.
I'm going to go.
Why Victor going before me?
Yeah, my man. I said Kunda, your man. So I want you to end my thought.
And we got his last name now.
I thought I your brother said.
Number cool and number Victor.
So that was a short. But look, I couldn't agree with my colleagues more. The president, Dennis, you said it, I think it was you or Dr. Malley. The problem has been there even before he came into office, right? Why is it that this president, right, is doing the same old? Why did he come? I mean, he came to rescue us, right? Where are the new ideas that he brought? He's just doing the same thing over and over. He's just doing the mundane. Every day, the same thing in and out. And what is with this messianic intervention? You know, this crisis has been on. When this woman came on, the crisis was already there. That's why she came in. But ever since she came, same thing. We have 1.2, 1.3 billion dollar budget. How much is in there for education? What is there for the University Library? We thought this president would take the scalpel to this budget. That is what we were looking for. That is what we're looking for. 1.2, 1.3 billion dollars, over 900 million going to recurring expenditure. Jolly, you know, generator fuel, scratch cards, right? Or charter flights. That's what the majority of the budget is going to. You know, then he can't go intervene into the university crisis. He's been there almost 3 years. Intervention. That intervention would be running the government on. Where is the vision? Where is the vision? What is your budget tells us what your vision is? What is this president's vision? Recurrent expenditure. That's his vision. Because that's where the bulk of the money goes. That's where the bulk of the money goes. The car he drove to the university campus, I think it was Dr. President who said that, multi-million-dollar car. The people have a $500,000 problem, you drive a $1 million car, and then you go there, you go intervene. What a joke. What a joke. This guy has been in government for over 4 decades. What is the idea he came with into this government? I don't know. But coming to the detainees, right? Look, this government, again, because of the same thing we're talking about, no vision, no way to find money to run the government. They're spending the money before it even comes into the budget. You know, they're always recasting the budget, right? You know, the credit into the next budget. Before it comes in, they're already going into it, right? Because now we're cool. You know, you got a girlfriend every borough, right? That I've been laughing. You know, now we're cool. Got a girlfriend looking down. You got a girlfriend in Point 4. You got a girlfriend in Gibraltar. You got a girlfriend in Corway. You got a girlfriend in Newtown, right? So you got to spend the money. These people, imagine, Dennis, your own government is data mining your information. Just let somebody go and hack Macy's. They took all of our health information and give it to the U.S. government. Why? Because they wanted peanuts, right? I think $24 million, whatever it is. The whole country's health records. They give it to the U.S. What would they not do? They will sell us down the river for anything. They're bringing these people. We're talking about security right now. The security is so challenged that drugs are coming in and everywhere into the country. You're bringing additional foreigners. You don't know these people. We don't know where they are, who they are, whether they're third world countries, like they say, you know, third country detainees or whatever it is, or whether some of these people are the worst of the worst. We don't know that because Jeremy Pia is not saying anything. They're not telling us anything. So what are we to assume? That again, they're adding on to the already very, 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 very difficult security situation we have in Liberia, where we can't control our borders. They're bringing into this. They're bringing these people in the country now. Quickly, let me give it back to you. I was listening to something today, and Ronnie Shea was on this. I think they call it the State of the Nation. Or something, Sierra Leone. These guys were talking. They say these people, when they bring in this thing, they bring the drugs on the sea. they deflate the boat, and then they send the empty plane. It goes and pick it up. This is a very difficult situation. We got this going on, then they're bringing 1,200 people into the country. Like we already don't have enough problems. And of course, that's why everybody's laughing at us because we're crazy. But thank you, great show. Hope to be with you again next Friday.
Mr. Tower.
Yeah. Look at what happened here. No, my brother Nambo shouldn't go because he raised some very good point, and I was going to raise that about.
I'll be your audience. I'm your captain audience.
And no, about the type of people that they're bringing. No, you raised that point, and it's a very good point. We have drug issue in our country right now because starting from the immigration, and you know that some of the people on the list, they're Colombians, are going to be in the next batch of people that they're bringing. Let me tell you, because somebody asked a question to you that you asked Dr. Pearson, but I will give you the whole story because follow this. In December, in around November or October last year, the Liberian government, the Bouaka government, engaged the U.S. Sarah Besley Yanti, the foreign minister, engaged the U.S. that they were willing for them to take some deportees. The news broke, the Liberian, all of us on these shows, we started to talk, the government denied it. They secretly signed the agreement December of last year. Sarah Besley Yanti was here, met with Michael Rubio. They signed the agreement. They're lying that they didn't ask for anything. $5 million is what the U.S. government paid to the Liberian government in January of this year for the 1,200 deportees. $4,000 US dollar per deportees. Okay, then the discussion came up in the State Department and in Congress that how are they going to manage this money? That we don't trust them. One of the senators raised a question. We don't trust them that they're going to steal this money. So the State Department said, well, we need to get rid of these people. We can't press on it too much, but what we'll do is we'll tell them, we'll give them category and criteria on how to report on how the money is going to be used. So this was the agreement that was put in place. So these people that are going, $5 million, $4,000, about $4,166 per person. So they shouldn't lie. So how did the U.S. channel that money? They channel it as enhancing the immigration and security sector of Liberia. But the foreign minister that counted beans and rice in Somalia or Sudan, wherever in Nepal, these are some of the achievements that she's having. So they're doing this for money, okay? And so that they can pocket it. So that's what you are seeing. At the same time, the U.S. sent 7 deportees to Rwanda for $7.5 million, over $1 million per deportees. They sent 35 to Equatorial Guinea, about $260,000 per deportees. Liberia, $4,000. Okay, so $5 million. The whole internal document, I can send it to you. You can read the New York Times. Already broke the story. They broke everything down. So that is the whole deportee. So they didn't take no humanitarian ground. They lied. They were giving money, $5 million. Okay.
Thank you.
So I just want it to be known. It's on record. It's been published. The document exists. So that is the thing with the deportees. Look, I want to deviate briefly. Also, title education, but I don't want the UL thing to talk about it. But remember, Dr. Pearson, we spoke on something here that there was some money that they said that the one from from kindergarten to grade 6 to be free. Remember we discussed that here?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
We discussed that here.
Right.
Yeah, to be free. And they said they were best parents. And then the question was, where did the money come from? And the money came from the EU, because it's something big that is actually brewing. The money came from the EU, but the EU is struggling that they can barely even pay their own schools and get things running. Why are they giving you some money for a few $1 million for this stuff? the EU did not just give Liberia alone money, but Liberia, the reason that Liberia is in the Liberia in the first batch. Remember, you have been here about ECHO, the common currency for West Africa. Here is the EU, the global order is changing. They're collapsing. They're losing, like France, which is one of the largest group in the EU, is losing all their guys in the Sahel, and other people are doing stuff.
You're right.
So this is what they're doing. So the euro looking for backing, and they don't have it because the US pretty much.
Macron was in Kenya. He was, I think he's either in Ghana or going to Ghana. You know, you're right. They're hustling.
Yeah. So look at what happened. No, because I want to. I'm able to finish in 1 minute, because this is because when this unfold, then before we start saying how it happened. So when they're supposed to be publishing this currency, it been pushed back twice. Guinea already pulled out. Why did Guinea pull out? If you look at the document that they wrote, that the ECHO will be paired to the CFA. France is pushing this aggressively so that they can rescue themselves. But the CFA, France don't use it anymore. But it's the euro. So indirectly, it's going to be pegged to the euro. Guinea look at it and say, heck no, Secretary did not fight for us to turn our monetary sovereignty over to France with the EU. So they chose Liberia, Nigeria, I think not Sierra Leone, but 3 more other countries that they would do the pilot program for them to agree. That is how that money came back. So Liberia was dragging our feet, and that is how that money came in. So other African countries are not pulling out. That no, if we are going to do the ECHO, it can be pegged to anything. We should create between the central banks, let it be backed by our own resources. And that is why you see the European, especially France, crisscrossing West Africa, trying to use our resources to back the EU through France.
Thank you. On that note, we're going to close for the night. I want to thank all of you. Time is fast spent. We don't want to go spoon tonight. So I want to thank you all for coming. I want to also thank our viewers. Always focus on Liberia, where we strive to create and
thank all the viewers except Wallow. Thank all the viewers except Wallow.
Yeah, Wallow everything, man.
Man, Wallow MOU is not working, man. The man gave me strength again. The MOU is not working.
He said we should thank God for President Boga. I said, he reminded me of the Nigerian actor who said he touched his car and he was able to drive 2 months without fuel, no fuel. And I was still... So, Dr. Sam Wallow, we thank God that President Boga is able to drive the car without fuel for 2 months. On that note, we want to close, and thank you all for coming. And we're going to play our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people.